I will be your Abba, and you, my daughter.
Hi, I am Jacqueline, and I am an Abba's girl.
Hi, I'm Destiny, and I am an Abba's girl.
Hi, I am Elaine, and I am an Abba's girl.
This is Abba's Girl. This is a podcast for daughters of the King. Mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends offering encouragement.
Hi, welcome to Abba's Girl, a podcast geared toward women, daughters, sisters, wives, and everything in between. This is a place of encouragement, and we are here to share our stories, our testimonies, and our walk of faith. We are so excited to speak about healing relationships today. If you've ever been in a situation where you had a falling out with a friend or a relative and weren't sure how to step towards healing and restoration, stay tuned to hear our story. If you like this content, please remember to get the word out, like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you are in need of prayer, feel free to drop a comment or send us a private message on our Facebook page.
Yay!
Alrighty.
All right, so we're going to start off in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you today, me and Destiny, and I know Elaine in the Spirit, Lord. We just thank you for this opportunity to share our testimony, for it is by the word of our testimony and the blood of the Lamb that we overcome the beasts, and just to show your glory, show your goodness, show your power, Lord, and how we can now share our testimony with peace, with joy of the restoration, with the hindsight of everything that was wrong and went astray, like how we kind of just split up, and just being able to see it all in the past tense, Lord, and know that back then we didn't see what you had planned, but now to be living your plan out is just so amazing. So I just want us to just be able to share that today, Lord. I pray that you open up people's eyes and ears and hearts in the Spirit, Lord, so that they can receive your goodness, they can receive the testimony and know that this is all you, Lord, that this is not something that we had a hand in at all, that we were just following what you were leading us to do, and here we are, and to you be all the honor and all the glory, Lord. And we pray right now for just everyone in Texas that is going through the flood and all of that that's happening. And I pray that by the time this is out, there'll be nothing but good news and festivities of all the rescues that there'll be, and that then the people that are mourning, Lord, will have comfort and peace in their hearts, Lord, and that we can just continue to support one another and pray for one another and fight in the Spirit, Lord, for this battle is just beginning, Lord, in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. So this week's a little bit different because we don't have Elaine with us.
Yes.
But that's
And we
only
were
because there's a
supposed to do Teshuvah,
Teshuvah.
but then
But
we changed the. Go
because
ahead.
there's a huge surprise next episode. I'm gonna have to get popcorn for that one. So we're switching it up a little bit. Elaine's not here today, but we do miss her. We just have our testimony because me and Destiny, we met at a different time than me and Elaine met. So we did share that a little bit before, how they haven't met yet.
Person. Yes.
Yeah, and you winky winky, right? Do you feel like really prepared for this, or do you feel kind of nervous for this?
I felt really great about it. I felt like we're finally done with the forgiveness one. That weight lifted off my shoulders, especially because I was struggling so much with forgiveness that week. And now it just felt great to finally be past that, because I felt, first of all, like I don't have forgiveness all
Figured
down.
out.
Like I don't. And it showed me so much like that I didn't. And so it's just been like encouraging me even that more to try to pursue forgiveness and try to like really like talk to God about forgiving people. This one I came into this week really prepared, and just things just happen, like weird coincidences, of course. I just know that the enemy is not happy. I know that like different things are happening around me, around the people that I've been praying for, my mom, my husband, my stepdad. Like I was literally, I put him on my prayer wall over here, and things started happening for him too. And like, it's been a lot this week. I feel like this week has been like a year.
So this is about us. This is about our story. our story as individuals, like trying to know God at a young age in a really dark world and trying to become friends, and the enemy just not having that, and us listening to the enemy rather than listening to God. And then, yeah, so where do you want to go back to? Back in 1980 something. A man and a woman loved each other.
So we're from Texas. We met in high school. I had just moved back from living in the Dallas area, and I didn't know anybody. And so I moved back into my childhood home, my grandma's. And so I had no friends. The high school that we went to, I had always been told, intimidated, because it was on the poorer side of town, that it was crazy. It was like, oh my gosh, like they're always fighting. It's
Where's
ghetto,
the
right?
lie? Were
And
you supposed to go to
so
a different school though?
I was gonna go to, yeah, on the other side of town. I was supposed to go with my cousins.
Oh.
So started our freshman year. I did not know anyone. I remember it was ninth grade biology. We went in and started. I just heard the conversation between you and Joe, and I was just like, he wouldn't leave you alone. And I was just like, okay,
Let me
like,
save her.
I think she needs help. Like, and I'm a quiet person. This is like out of character for
But
me.
I
I was
was
just like,
too. Like that's why
yeah.
he was like not annoying me, because he was super sweet. But like he wasn't even being mean. Like I feel like our brains too, like as an adult, right? Because he was like, do you remember what he was telling me?
Mm-mm.
So this is what he said. He was like, "Hey, do you remember me?" And I was like, "No." And then he was like, "Yeah, like we had," and he told me that I don't even remember the teacher's name. He was like, "I had you in math class. Like I've known you since 7th grade." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Do you remember that teacher?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "We were in the same class together." And I'm like, and that's whenever I remember her name is Lehman.
Yeah.
I remember that she was like, "Jacqueline, please be quiet," or something to that effect. And then I was like mortified because I was really quiet too. I think we're kind of similar in that like we're like, not in a sense social butterflies, but when we're social around people that we know, we can be extroverted. But then
Yes.
like with new people, it's very much like, I don't know you, don't talk to me, which is
Yes.
really hard as Christians, y'all. Like, oh my gosh. But
Yes.
but that was me too. Like my kids are like, you were quiet, you like,
What?
yes, like I was really quiet. So I was like, he was behind me, and I'm like turning like, dude, like stop talking to me. And then he was like, yeah, like we were friends. You don't want to be my friend? And then I'm just like, no, like leave me alone. But it was
Yeah,
so
and I could
funny. He was
feel like I could feel the uncomfortableness of you, like not wanting to get in trouble, not wanting to, like, and I was like, oh, what's happening over here? And I was like, you know what? If you don't leave her alone, we're gonna freaking jump you.
Like,
We're
you're
gonna
gonna jump
beat
back
you
to class.
up. I
And he's
knew
like, oh,
nothing. I
yeah.
knew nothing about gangs and beating people up or anything like that. So I'm just like, I knew the only thing like that I heard. I was just like, you know what? We're gonna beat you up. Like
I
I
wish I
threatened
was
this
better
kid.
prepared for this, because I still have your picture, like with your hair like all dark and your black
Oh gosh,
t-shirt, and I
no,
would have been
no.
like, this is why I believed her, because she was just kind of like, we're gonna jump you after school. Like she's like, you down? You want me to help you? And I'm just like, yeah. He was just like, oh, that's mean. But he was so sweet. He wasn't trying to like be a jerk or honestly anything like that. Like,
Yeah. So we stayed
good
friends
times.
all throughout high school.
I actually just told the kids about how we were talking about like singing and music. I still remember the first time I was in your room. Like you had that room like at the edge, and I remember like
Yes.
being like I was kneeling down on your bed. I hear the conversations of like, because our daughters talk when they're not in trouble.
And they don't have their
But they're
phones
not in
taken
trouble.
away.
But they talk, and I hear their conversations, and it takes me back. I remember like kneeling on your bed, and you were like kind of sitting down there, and you were just kind of like, I can sing. Can you sing? And I'm just like, yeah. And you're like, want to see? And I remember you singing, and then I was like all shy. You're like, I did it. I already sang. Like you have to sing.
I remember hearing your voice for the first time and I was just like almost in tears. I was like, oh, you can sing too.
I remember
you were
you,
like,
yeah.
you can sing too. What? Get
We
out
were
of
all
here.
like, yeah, it was so girl, like such like little girl fan.
I
You
was
were
just
so
thinking
little.
about this memory. Like, I want to say it was like about a week or so ago that I just
Yeah,
like was
that's
sitting
when
there
I told the
remembering
kids
it.
it was recent, like in the like last week, that I was like telling them, and I was like, I remember, and I was talking to Elijah, and like, because when I'm cooking, we talk about everything. I remember feeling that fear in my gut of like, not necessarily you judging me, but I didn't sing in front of people. Like my mom knew I could sing, like my family, I would do karaoke and stuff like that, but like I didn't sing in front of people. I had
Right.
massive stage fright. And so like you were just like, I can sing too. And then I was like, okay. And then I was like, okay, you go. And I remember you singing and be like, oh my God, like she can sing. So I was like, oh, now I have to sing. And then I was like, ah, and you kind of like, I did it. Like, you got to do it now. And I was like, okay. And I remember like, I didn't even get far into Amazing Grace, but you were just like, oh, I like your voice. Like you can sing so good. And me just being like, really? Like, you think so? I feel like God planted that seed of friendship in that moment. And it's like, the enemy planted as weeds, right? It's crazy because this is obviously the public school system, and it is honestly on the side of the town that was more notorious for like just the violence. Like we literally were out at lunch one time and they were like, the bell rang, remember? And we were like, whoa, that was a really fast lunch. We didn't even make it off campus. We get to the classrooms, they're like, oh, it's because the guy had a gun.
Yeah.
And we're just like, this was like before, like, I mean, there was shootings back then too, but it was like, it wasn't like a gunman in campus. It was just like, oh yeah, the guy brought a gun.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you just don't get to eat. That's the worst part of it. Like, it was just like a normal, like, meh.
Yeah.
Like that was,
Yeah, the everyday, day to day kids, want to go off campus for lunch to go get high, and just the things that you're exposed to, and like, oh, whoa, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, yeah, I'm looking back, we really did survive at such a young age. God was always there. And yeah, it was no walk in the park.
yeah. And I think that a lot of times, as we would like spend time together outside of school, obviously, and when we were by ourselves, there was a lot more affection for God. There was a lot more of the realness, because when you're not prepared to go into the world and you're exposed to it really quickly, you either join it or you have to develop a thick skin and kind of fake it until you're prepared. Because
Yeah.
at school we have to have this like, facade, like this fake, mask that's just like, yeah, I'm like everybody else. And we were cussing. And I remember my mom finding a letter. I don't know which one of y'all wrote it. Her thing was like, if this is how your friends talk, because I remember her telling me at a very young age, my grandpa was like, tell me who you hang out with and I'll tell you who you are.
You are. Yeah.
And so she was like, if this is how your friends talk, like I don't even want to see the letters that you're writing, and it convicted me. It didn't change me. It convicted me. Like, it made me like, oh no, but we kept doing it.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
feel like that's when our fights started to get real.
Oh, yeah.
That we come from a very similar background, from the same like brokenness of a broken home, like the same absence of our moms having to go hustle and do all these things for us, having to like be glad with what they're able to provide, right? And so like we finally like start going into learning about God, and we knew that there was a goodness to God. I do believe that we got to taste and see that he was good at a young age, but we also allowed our flesh to taste and see that the world is pleasurable. As we're submerged into a dark world and we have little bitty lights to protect, like we didn't really know how. And so like when we were little, when we would get together, it was like we would read our Bibles. And I remember like we had matching Bibles.
Oh, yeah.
And so we would talk about God. But come Monday, we'd go to school and it was about like this girl that wants to fight you, or this or this little boy that you like, or whatever. I think that's what the devil wants. The devil wants us to awaken love before it's time, and
Yeah.
because if you awaken love before it's time, then you get like fool's gold. It's not what God intends. Purity lines get blurred, and it's the enemy's tactics, but it's very much sacrificial love, and that's what the devil didn't want. So like we were just like everybody else, kind of like, oh well, that boy's cute, but he's kind of dumb, or this boy's cute, or whatever, like moving on to the next one. What is it, like junior year, I think, is where it kind of went down. When did all that happen with your uncle?
Beginning of junior year, the end of my sophomore year. My uncle, which was like the closest thing to a relationship with a father that I ever had, got sent to prison. So, yeah.
And I remember that's one of the first times that I remember being outside in the back of your truck. Like one day we were talking about it. It's like a sunset kind of thing. And we were talking about your uncle, and we were talking about praying, and we were like, yeah, like we need to learn to pray. And I remember like just kind of getting really like, this war is deeper than the physical. Like this is evil,
Yeah.
whenever you were talking about like the whole story about like everyone involved and like how it all went down. And we're just like, this is not just somebody being bitter. Like this is beyond like somebody just wanting to just to be a jerk. Like this is like spiritually evil, And I feel like that's one of the first times that we kind of were like, whoa, like, And I feel like after that, because I remember having the Bible with me and being in the back of your truck outside. I don't know if you remember, like it was like in the evening. It was like after all that stuff was happening. And I walked to your house. I remember being during the process. I remember having my Bible and we are talking about how like it was dark and how like we need to learn to pray. Like that, like we gotta fight in the spirit. We were like little, but just kind of like understanding like there's
Yeah.
something deeper. And I feel like there is where it kind of started shifting. I feel like as our spirit started waking up, the devil was like, whoa, 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 this is far enough. Like y'all could talk about Jesus. Y'all ain't about to start fighting in the spirit, And
Yes.
and so I think that shift in our spirit when we start, I feel like that's the point where the devil just wasn't having it, and we weren't prepared to fight. And I feel like we had absent fathers. There was no strong man in the house. And that's where I think that it's just like it's so critical for dads to just be present and follow and trust Jesus. Like it's so important because the enemy cannot plunder the strong man's house unless he first ties up the strong man. And our dads were gone. And so we were easy targets, even though our moms prayed, but our moms prayed and they were trying to be dads and moms at the same time. And it just was like, it's not how God set it up to be. And so they did what they could, but again, we were exposed. And I feel like after that, I remember like things took a turn. Like I don't remember after that really talking about God that much. I remember we kind of started getting really vain. It was an up and down of like vanity and then like depression and like all these dark thoughts and all these dark places like anxiety and like all that. And it started to like really wedge between us. And I think a lot of it is because we saw each other and the other person. And I don't think that we really liked what we saw. You know what I mean? And I remember would tell me like whenever we would fight and she would talk to me like, you guys are stupid. She would tell me. And she was like, y'all fight because y'all exactly the same. And I remember like, I'm not like her.
I am not. What is
Hear
wrong?
you. And now we're just like, we're the same.
We're exactly
We're
the same.
something
Copy,
like that.
paste. Oh
Right.
my goodness.
And now we're excited. But back then it was just like an offense because we were not established in our faith. And I remember we would fight over, like, I don't know if you want to talk about the fights, but we'd fight over like the stupidest stuff. We had a lot of those fights, and I feel like the fights just got deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
And if you're not sensitive to the voice of the Holy Spirit, who's telling you, like, that's not your thought, that's not my thought, that's not my word, that's not my voice, and that's not your thoughts. If we can hear him, then we can automatically like, no, take that thought captive. Nope, not today. That's not my thought, and it's not the truth, you lying devil. Like, it's. I just heard this viejito say that. It sounded so cool. So we would get the thoughts in our heads.
We were
And
baby Christians. We were like drinking milk.
We were like newborns. Like we were in vitro.
We were still in vitro. I'll take that.
We were still little cells, but like we had life. We just didn't have any consciousness of how deep it all went and how much you have to separate yourself, how much you have to fight for your holiness and your purity and your set apartness from this world, like how to be a part of the world without being a part of the world. And we didn't know any of that. We just thought like, okay, well, we happen to be like, we happen to believe in God and Jesus. And so after that, I remember another fight. I don't know if you remember this one. Whenever we were at the park, I don't remember what the fight was about, but
I'm old.
I remember, like, I know, girl, but I just remember that part because I remember getting off your truck and I was like, I'm walking home. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do remember that now.
And I remember you following me in your truck, like, get in the car. Or get in the truck.
Too many movies.
I know, we're dramatic. I mean, on top of that, we were pretty dramatic though. So I mean, that kind of played a role. I don't even remember if I got in the truck. I probably did because I wouldn't walk all the way home.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think I would have let you walk all the way home
to the truck. Hurry up! I do remember you telling me like, "I'm sorry." It's so weird. I even remember you telling me things like, "You're my best friend." Like I don't know if you remember me ever saying that to you when we were little.
I don't know. No.
And I don't know if it's just like those depths of like rejection and abandonment and like all that stuff. But like whenever you would say that, I remember it would scare me. Like whenever you would tell me like you're my best friend, like it would scare me. I felt like it just put this like huge responsibility on me, right? And then it was just one of those like, I don't know, like I didn't know how to be like a best friend, and I feel like deep down I knew that, You know what I mean? But I do see I could see how we were best friends. Like we knew each other, like honestly, spiritually, like we knew our personal lives. We shared the same like dark world that we were in, the same school, the same peers, like all of that. And so like we did have a lot in common, and we did hang out a lot and kind of run to each other for every little heartbreak we had. So we were best friends. And now that I see like the little fights and all of that, I feel like it was a baby version of what we're experiencing now, like in our marriages.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
So, I mean, in marriage is different because you have so much intimacy, so much things that are like romance and other things, but it's still your best friend. It's still the one person that knows every intimate crevice of you. And that's kind of what a deep friendship is. Because when God tells us that by this, they will know you're my disciples, is how you love one another. And so like best friends and friendship, and we should honestly get to the point where we're all best friends in Christ, right? Where we're all sisters and brothers, and know each other like spiritually intimately, where we know when a brother is suffering, when a sister is suffering, when we want to run to their aid and try to lighten the load, and where we carry each other's burdens, like, you know what I mean? And that's what we were. We didn't know it, but that was the biggest threat to the enemy, I think, at our age. And
Yeah.
so he did, like, I was so scared of it. I felt bad because I'm just like I don't want her to feel like she's not my best friend. I just could not. I just felt, because again, one thing too is my mom, she would always tell me, like, when you give away your friendship, like, it's a commitment. You can't just take it away when they make you mad. You can't take it away when they like don't give you what you want or or it doesn't go your way. Like, it's a commitment.
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, if friendship is a commitment, best friendship is a lot. And so I
Yeah.
was really scared of it. I knew that it gave me comfort, and gave me like this sense of commitment, this sense of like, I got you no matter what. And I'm like, instead of giving that back to you, I was just kind of like, I need to protect my little heart. Like, I need to protect myself. Like, even if it's at your expense in that area, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so, but our fights did get worse. So I don't know how deep you want to go into this.
Yeah.
I'll give you the floor.
Well, what's the ultimate thing that you could fight about as a boy? So it's just a stupid, very stupid boy.
A
Um,
boy.
I think I just kind of got at that age so enamored with somebody finally liking me back that I
Which
somewhat
is dumb because I
liked.
feel like guys did like you, but we were young and dumb.
I was so insecure that I thought no one ever liked me. No one would ever like me. And that again comes from I never felt beautiful. I never felt loved. I felt unseen. I felt so just, yeah, I felt invisible. And so I
Mhm.
didn't know until after high school that people were like trying to talk to me. But,
I think the
just
craziest part is that is like a lot of them probably didn't snooze it on you like you snoozed.
I snoozed it. Yeah, I was just,
You're like all of y'all got away. I'll give you that. All of y'all got away. I think because I remember like just how boys acted, and I feel like in a teenage brain, I didn't recognize it. But looking back at the memories, you know what I mean? I'm like,
yeah.
like certain things that would happen, or like the way that, I mean, especially whenever you did like a boy specifically, and then the boy got red and like all this stuff, and like we won't say your name, but you know what I mean? Like I just feel like, oh, that kid liked you back,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of like, oh, but then we were like, let's go get cotton candy, who cares, you know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
was just like that's how we were, like we just did. And thank God for that, because I
Yeah.
just feel like where we are now, again, it's not perfect, but the life that God's allowing us to live with our partner. And then not only that, but even with our kids, like the kids that we got to witness and give birth to and like love, and like that came from the marriage that God allowed to happen in our lives. Like I wouldn't trade it for anybody. Don't matter, like,
No. Yeah.
don't matter how many pizza boxes.
All right.
But we digress. The saddest part is just how we ended up fighting even at all over a boy. But like to me, the sad part at the time was like, I didn't like him, but like I didn't even think you really liked him. Like I
Yeah.
think you
I
were in love
didn't.
with the idea,
I think,
because
yeah,
I'm
I
like,
just wanted to be like, yeah.
I knew the guys that she liked. Like I knew what they looked like. He was not it. So that's why for me it was like, I mean, all God's creatures are beautiful, but we all have different
Amen.
tastes. You know what I'm saying? And so like personality wise was a no. I didn't think you would like him. That I feel like, I mean, I wouldn't call myself shallow either, but like I don't think that, like, for me, what killed it with this kid was that his personality, like his
Toxic.
personality, like yeah, and Yeah. And I feel like if we say too much, like I don't want to offend anyone, you know what I mean? But like
True.
he
Okay,
he
you're right.
was really toxic. He was at a very young age, just very much. Now it's like broken. Now it's like he had that
Yeah.
same insecurity of wanting to feel like loved and all that, but instead of just searching like for friendships and like genuine relationships, he wanted to manipulate and use the people that did try to care about him.
For my experience, like my family did not, it was like you turned 18, you got married, you had kids, you started your life. It was not, I was not ambitious. I did not, I talked to my mom recently about this. I did not see into college in high school. Like nobody, like I was the first person in my direct family to go to college. Like, you know what I mean? Like I
Wow.
didn't see towards like the end goal of high school. I was not aware of that, whether it be ADHD, magic brain, like whatever. I
Bougie
didn't
brain.
see what was going to come after high school. I assumed I'd get a job, I'd find a guy, I'd get married, I'd have kids. And so like my mind wasn't even on like, you know, ambitions for myself and what groups to get involved with and what, you know, colleges to apply for, what scholarships. Like I didn't know none of that. That was an unknown world to me. It was a very basic get married, have kids, and that's life type
And
mindset.
I feel like that's there. I actually like that though. I just think that you were in the wrong bubble. But I think that because of the bubble that you were in, the environment you were in, that desire in you became toxic. Because then the only thing you have to pick from is, we're gonna name him a boy who did manipulate and get in your ear, and he would call me and say things. It wasn't somebody that we actually liked, because he asked me before he asked you out. He asked me, do you think she likes me? Like I like her. So to me, I never thought that he would do a whole 180 and then try to come in between us and kind of be like, oh, it's because I like both of you. Like I
Yeah.
never saw that, blindsided the crap out of me. But I
Yeah.
remember he called me and was like, "Do you think she likes me?" Da, da, da. And my first instinct was like, "Do not play games."
In my head, I'm just like, you know, it wasn't that deep. It was like we what I think in high school we what held hands a couple times, and then like within like what 2 or 3 weeks it was gone. Like we broke up.
So like for me, that's kind of where I think that it started, like the cracking. And I don't know how you felt on your end, because I feel like if you thought that I was lying to you, it started cracking on your end too.
I honestly like I did believe that this person was manipulative, but I think I was just so like desperate for if you know I stopped talking to him, he was out of my life, right? And then if I stopped talking to you, there's my best friend. So it was just like either way, one of them was going to get cut out, and then both of them ended up getting cut out in the end. I didn't have that, you know, I don't want to say bros over hoes, but like, like
Chicks before.
girls,
Oh, no, that was bad too.
chicks. Yeah, no. I don't want to say
That
that
was way
either.
worse. But like, I
I
say
didn't have that
commitment.
mentality. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah, I
have
was
that
gonna say I think
mentality. So it's
commitment.
like,
Yeah,
but
I think it's the commitment. And again, that's the craziest part, because I feel like in friendships, right? Like I think that when you think about like the Bible and how people were like called to be, right? You learned your first commitments with your family, with your friends, like your immediate like community.
yeah,
And then those commitments kind of carry over into your marriage. Like you wouldn't betray your friend, you would never betray your husband.
right.
And we didn't know those commitments. And I think that a lot of it was because of those wedges that kind of were constantly happening, because we were living a friendship in the world.
Yeah,
Like it wasn't our friendship, even though it was, I think it was for the most part solid for the age that we were and the environment that we were. It wasn't rooted in Jesus. And
yeah.
that's the biggest like
I think we carried that into so I know that that played a big part is him and like everything that happened, but I know that at the same time, like the way that we were raised, in that the same mentality that we brought into the marriages of, if I'm not gonna get the standard of treatment that I set, then it's not worth it. Because I remember like if I said something in a way that like didn't meet your standards, or the same thing if you said something that didn't meet my standards, then we would put this wall up. And so it was like, you know, I had to like, beg for, like the I'm sorry. I had to always be the first to, I feel like, to say I'm sorry. And that, like, that's how a lot of my relationships with my family was. Like I always had to be the first to, lay down a grudge and lay down and be like, even if I
You know
was,
what's crazy? It was your mom like that or no?
no.
You know what's crazy is that in my relationship, my mom was like that.
Yeah.
So like my mom was the first one to lay it down. Like if they stopped talking to her, like she was even in our relationship, and I feel like that kind of makes a big difference. Like in my relationship with my mom, she would tell me sorry because
Okay.
I guess she thought she was teaching me to be apologetic by giving me that apology. But I was learning like no, to receive it only. And so like
Yeah.
with me with my kids, that's why I tried like I one of the first things that I taught them very, very small was when you hurt your brother, like or you hurt each other, the Bible says rebuke them. And if they repent, like forgive them and you saved your relationship. And so as they were little, um, I would make them apologize to each other, like not like make them, but like I'll be like, okay, like you have to tell them sorry. But it's not just about apology. You have to remind them like I messed up. I love you though. And I'm not gonna do that again. Right.
Right.
But that's why I taught them that because I didn't know that. Like it's even in my marriage that came into my marriage too, like this idea. And again, because of just kind of how that's why I was asking how your mom was. Because if she
Yeah.
wasn't like the kind of quickly apologize,
Mm-mm.
then it kind of made you be like, well, in that relationship, if you want to salvage your relationship with your mom, now you got to be the one saying sorry. And
Yeah.
so that like leaks into the world, into how you see the world,
Yeah.
which is a really perfect storm, I think, in our friendship.
That, and then I was just such a lonely kid that I, did not want to drive people away from me.
I
I
was
spent
opposite.
See,
I was lonely and I was like, get away from me.
I was so quiet and just like, with my mom at work, my grandma watching me, like I stayed in my room. She's like, go play in your room. And I stayed in my room and I always like played by myself. And you know, that I was alone a lot. I did not
Me
have, not that my mom wasn't there. It's just my mom was always working. So
working.
I didn't have like that outlet to talk to people, like to just like, yeah, just like talk. And so the only time I ever talked with people was when my cousins came over, and then if we started fighting, it was just like, well, I don't want them to be mad at me forever and not ever want to come over and play, so it's like I always felt that I needed to be apologetic first, and to
Salvage
not
them.
drive people away, because I hated not having people. I hated being
I think
alone.
that's so different in our character, like I said, because I was opposite. So like I was very lonely too. I'm an only child. Like I had cousins. I have older cousins that were nice, but they were already like often married and stuff. But like my little group of cousins, like it was the same. Like we'd fight or whatever. But I was very much like, go home then. Like I really was just very much like I'd rather be by myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like it's so crazy because like it just seemed like I feel like we only saw our friendship at the time, right? But now it's like we're able to see from the outside like how much moving parts there was to our character and personality that drove either our friendship closer and ripped it apart. You know what I mean? Because like again, for me, like that whole thing, I mean, I didn't take it like you didn't. I didn't take it like you didn't know what to do. I took it like, oh, she just doesn't believe me.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, why the heck would I make something like that up? Especially I felt offended. I felt offended because I'm like, she knows me. Like you know what I like and what I don't
Yeah.
like. Like you know what I mean? So I just kind of felt like I guess embarrassed for the both of us. I felt like, ew, like why would we fight over this kid?
Yeah.
I think that for me was a big crack in our friendship. Because I mean, we had all our little fights and they were
Mhm.
stupid. But the biggest crack was that day that you called me. And again, I'm like, I know that deep down we were in the same spirit. I know that God was already putting his work in because the moment that I answered the phone, I knew you had him on three-way. I don't know how I knew, but I could feel it in my spirit. I said the phone, and you're like, hey. And then I knew it in my spirit that he was on the line. And you were
Right.
just like, what did you say he told you? And I was like, oh heck, like this guy. And I was like, and I told you again on the line, and I knew he was on there because I was just like with my little attitude, like, well, he said da 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 da, and then that's whenever he's like, she's lying. And then
Yeah. And that, like, for me, avoidance is like the best coping strategy for me, rather than like try to make a decision on who is lying or not. Even though I knew you weren't. I knew he was. It's just like I would just rather avoid it at all costs. That's my thing. Like I just shut down, and I'm just like, go back to what I know is just me in my corner, me doing, what I need to do for me, and like just shutting it all out, not trying to make a decision. And I was very young and just, dumb.
Yeah. We're like, it
And
always goes back to
so
young and
I
dumb.
think
But
it, I
yeah,
think it, yeah, I think like the thing that sucks so bad, and I know I'm probably going to cut a lot of this out just because like I don't want to give that person
that much attention.
that much. Yeah, I don't want to give that much authority over the friendship, because it was a lot of other things that kind of led to that. Yes, the not trusting you, I'm sure that could have like made the bigger crack, but it wasn't for me. Now that we're talking about it, wasn't a matter of whether or not I believed you or not. It was ashamed for even allowing a boy to come between our friendship. It was rejection, because he's lying, obviously. It's like that somebody would use me like that I would be fooled by somebody using me like that. And just like, I don't want any part of it, and just shifting like, you can't trust anybody, and yeah, I shut down. And so I did the only thing that I knew how to do, and that was just to keep moving on. And I think that our junior year or senior year.
I think it was our senior year.
That was senior
Because
year.
I think that's when it really exploded. Because I remember we did make up like literally the day before we graduated.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know that you had.
I seen you at graduation, and I think that's one of the main regrets, is that like we saw each other at prom, and it was just like I don't
Yeah.
feel that it was all we had hoped it would be. Like, I did enjoy myself. I did go, like, I didn't have a date. I went by myself. I didn't care. Like, I enjoyed it, but at the same time, like, it was so bittersweet because, we didn't get to share that get
Moment.
together, get ready
Like that
together, get there.
milestone.
Yeah, like we didn't get to share that. It was just like, hey, how are you doing? And then like,
And
and
then
it was
for
no
like,
ill will or anything. Like, I thought you looked beautiful in your dress. Like, I was like, oh my gosh.
dude, I was like so uncomfortable. But my mom was like, you gotta wear dresses. But for me, like, I didn't want to be there. Like, I hated the whole experience of being at prom.
Oh wow.
Like, I remember seeing you. I walked around the whole thing by myself a couple of times, and then just like
Oh,
was
wow.
ready to go.
It was. And that's the
Because I
interesting
do.
part, that it happened at such a defining moment. Like, at
Like, I
such
feel like if we hadn't given in to God and had like I want to say, like, I guess a forgiving spirit and a repentative spirit, like, I don't think we would have ever stayed friends. I think that if God had not intervened, you know what I mean, and that, because for me it takes a lot. So I'm just like, for me, like, the fact that I didn't even know about the accident until probably like a couple of days before we graduated.
mine accident,
Mm-hmm.
because it happened a couple days before graduation.
Like, I
I
didn't.
So I was actually going with my cousin, and we were going to my niece's birthday party. And so, yeah, we got onto the highway, and so he went to look back to merge into the highway, and there was traffic had already stopped ahead. And so like he didn't see that, so he hit the car, and like he went to turn, but it came all like on, I was in the front passenger, all up on my side. Like there was metal like right in front of my face. And
Yeah,
so
because you put your hands up like that, huh?
I went like that. I still have the scars. And so yeah, it was crazy. I remember us getting out of the car. He pulled me out of the car. We started praying on the side of the road. There was so many accidents that day. I remember that they had the stretcher in the middle of the hallway in the hospital, because so many people had died further down.
Like, did he like cause all that crash, or was there already a
No,
crash?
there was already a crash up, and there was multiple.
Oh,
There was so many people. Like, I wasn't super serious that I needed to be in a room. It was just, like lacerations on my hands. And so, yeah, they ended up leaving me out there. They ended up stitching me up. And then I've had these bandages for high school graduation. And I had people coming up to me like, did you like try to hurt yourself? And like, are you okay? Like, and I was just like, no, I was in a car accident. And like, I
yeah, like,
my hands in my front of my face.
this little boy wedged his way in, And I was like, I felt betrayed, rejected. She felt, like you said, like you felt shame, you felt also rejected, also like pain. And we kind of just went like little hermits in our own corners, like, you know what, whatever, like,
Yeah.
and kind of lived through it. Prom sucked for me. For you, I think it was a little bit funner. You still had like that circle, like that
Yeah.
friendship. And for me, like I went with friends, but they were like friends of friends. It wasn't like I was with my little circle. And because
Us. Yeah.
I'm very much just, I have my people, you know what I mean? That other people, I love them, I care about them, they're cool peoples, but they're not gonna get the real me.
Right.
And so like I dissed the limo party, and then they just drove me to my house, and I went inside and I went to sleep. And that was like my prom. Like for me, it was like we need a redo.
I felt like on the way to and from prom, I felt like a baby because I was the third wheel. I was like, eh. But then I got there and I was just like, oh, I'm a single Pringle. I can go mingle. We're about to graduate and like never see these people ever again. So, like, why not just like come out of your shell? And so I did. I was like, and I had zero regrets. And it's funny because Mauricio's like, I was tied down. I was with this person for almost this entire high school experience. I dedicated so much to that person and the relationship didn't last. But and he regretted it. He regretted not having that freedom to just kind of enjoy his high school experience. And so like it's like he
I don't
says,
know.
I remember seeing you. I remember like wanting to go dance with you or talk to you, say hi and this and that.
The last time that I talked to him before you guys even got together, I was pregnant with my son and I was already like married. And I remember like it was whenever they had just like broken up. And it's just like, you're gonna have a baby, like you're married, and I'm just like, yeah, like I think that's a shocker for people that knew me. Who's just kind of like, oh well, good luck with that. Not even like a year later is like, oh, you're married, Mauricio. He was born to be married. But it was just like a weird um like transition. I think because for him he was free, you
Mhm.
know, and then I was just like, nope, I'm gonna. But I think that's the thing too. For me, I feel like it was easy for me to get into the relationship that I'm in because I felt like I didn't waste my time on boys. I think like whenever you're going through all that in high school, you know what I mean? Like where you're dating and like I remember telling you guys, remember like I was be like we gotta like enjoy each other. Like there's time to get married when we get old. Like I remember telling you guys like this is our time.
Yeah, graduation came and went so fast.
I remember at that point, even through prom and everything, I remember being like bitter. Like I felt bitter. Like I felt um angry. Like I just wanted high school to be over to like move on from everyone. Um and I think it's because of the fact that we had such like centered friendship, because I think that you were one of those and probably one of like the closest ones that I had. But this was the first time that I felt alone and abandoned and like from friendships, you know what I mean? That I got
Mhm.
really bitter. And I remember like kind of like whatever then, like you don't want to be my friend, we're not friends. And then called me and she was like, have you talked to Destiny? And I was like, no. And then she was like, she almost died. Like she was in a car accident. And like I remember my heart just sinking, like the realization that like petty things in this world, like you can be forced to carry for the rest of your life simply out of resentment and bitterness and this just pride.
Yeah.
And even then, like I felt like my heartache. I felt, oh my God, what if you had died? I was glad you were alive, but like, what if you had died and that was the end of our friendship? We never got to make up. We never got to talk about it. But it still didn't drive me to be like, I should call her.
Yeah.
Like I just kind of felt like she probably doesn't want to hear from me anyways. Like I'm just
Oh
glad she's
man.
okay.
Yeah.
And I remember we had the practice rehearsal for graduation. And I remember like I had, my heart was heavy. I didn't feel mad at you at all anymore. I felt like none of that mattered anymore.
Yeah.
But I also felt again that shame and then not wanting to like be rejected again if you were like, oh, now you care. Like me making up the scenarios in my own head and having the whole conversations, which that's unfair to the other person, and I remember still having like that heart where I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe you almost died. And so when we saw each other, I remember just that moment of seeing you and you seeing me, and it's like everything melted away. And it was just kind of like, I don't think we cried, but I do remember like kind of just being like, oh my God, are you okay? And you're like, I'm fine. And, and I remember just making up right there. Like we didn't talk about what happened. We didn't talk about why, nothing mattered. It was just like, you're still here. I'm still here. Like, whew, this is a new chance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, and the devil was like, I wonder if this will work again. That laugh.
Round two.
Round two. And
Well, so wait, y'all left, right? You went out of town after high school.
I
You
left. So
graduated.
like even though we were back, like I feel like we made up. I don't think that our friendship was still
What
as
it
solid. I
was.
think that yeah. And so for me, like I really wasn't one for like college. I don't think that they gave everyone the same amount of attention when it came to how to go to college. If you were one of the kids that was like,
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Go
and
ahead.
so like not knowing it and coming from families that don't go to college like that, I didn't know the first thing about it. I didn't get the attention that like the kids that seem to be putting in the effort did. And once they said you don't have ACE, my mind was like, oh, then I can't go to college.
Yeah.
Like there's
They
no
didn't
option.
explain I don't feel that they explained the importance of the program to us. And a lot of kids lost those opportunities right away from high school.
But nobody
Right.
told us that. To me, I
No.
was like, college is this like really expensive,
So
very far
distant,
away.
so
Yeah.
far, so off
Yeah.
limits, like nowhere. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Same.
remember like what's the alternative for me? And I remember I went to El Paso for because again I was also going to join the Navy. Like I remember having my little recruiter and then I got chunky and then they didn't want me and I was just so depressed. I was like whatever, like nothing works in my life, you know?
That's crazy that you say that you wanted to join the Navy because I actually I signed up with the Army recruiter. My ex stepdad talked with my mom, and he's like, don't join the military. Like, don't do it. But then after this was before we graduated, and then after we graduated, I actually one of the reasons why me and Mauricio started talking was because I was trying to join the Navy. Like, I was like, I'm
Mm,
not going to be able to afford going. I wanted to go to worship ministry, like go to university, go, major in worship ministry, youth ministry, but I couldn't do any of that. And so I was like, I've got to go to these other cities. And I like looking at tuition, you're just like, there's just no way. There's no way
mm,
I'm going to be able to afford any of that. What's the next best thing that I could do? Join the Navy. Oh, okay.
yeah.
Mauricio, you're in the Navy. Like, what's it like? And then we just started dating instead.
I went to sign up for Job Corps and I went to Job Corps over there thinking that that was the only alternative. I went and I was there for like 3 months and I was away from my mom. I remember going to say bye to you guys. Like I remember it was right after my birthday and it's partially her fault because on my birthday, like I was like, I didn't even, on my birthday, do you remember what y'all did to me?
Are you pointing at me?
Yes, you.
Well, what did I do?
Like you called me and you're like, oh my God, you have to come to my house right now. Me all this stuff.
Was it a trap?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Do you remember what it was?
I don't do those things. I'm usually told to do them. Okay.
But you remember what y'all did? So I get there thinking like, oh my gosh, something happened. And it's my birthday and they didn't even remember my birthday. And it's like I pull up and I go inside and you guys have this huge stack of zebra cakes with a bunch of candles. And they're like, happy birthday. And dude, we tore them up. Like I did not take any home. We just ate them all. That's why, like a week later, they were like, you can't come with us because
We're the reason why.
you're the reason why. But yeah, I remember I went to Job Corps. In Job Corps though, like I did lose a ton of weight. But the longer I was at Job Corps, the more I was spending time with my cousin who served God, and the more I got into the Bible, and the more I got into reading, and I met Pastor Lewis, and my heart started shifting a little bit, where it was just kind of like it wasn't more about what I wanted to do; it was more of just like is there a calling in my life? Is there something that God wants me to do? And
Oh wow.
I slowly stopped kind of thinking about like military and like all that stuff. I was just like, no, I'm made to worship. Like I want to sing. I want to sing for God. That's what I want to do. And so from there,
Crazy.
I ended up going back because of my friends. I want to go party, and we're like every time I would talk to them, it's like, girl, you're missing out. You're missing out. You're missing out.
Oh, your other
And
friends from
yeah,
okay.
like my church friends, but like yeah, like they were like partying and clubbing and all these things, and I was like, I'm not gonna club though, Lord. I just miss hanging out with them, and I feel like God was like, mm-hmm. So I pull up to your house, and then you can continue.
I don't know. I don't know what's
I
happening.
pull up to your house and he's there.
Oh, when you came back into town?
Yeah.
When was this?
This was in October.
I don't remember what happened.
Yeah, like I don't remember the whole story because I feel like he was a subject that we really didn't
I
talk about.
didn't date him then though, so we were probably just talking as friends.
Yeah, and I remember that part. Like I remember you telling me in front of him, like, "Oh no, we're just friends," like that, like
Yeah, we
kind
hung
of
out.
mention
Yeah.
it. Yeah, like, and I was just kind of like, I don't like you, like, because I remember like sitting, and I remember like he literally, I don't know if you remember this, but like he was like, I got there and like you remember how like he was kind of more of like a hugger or whatever stuff like that, and I remember I shook his hand and he was just like, "Wow, like you look good," he went like that, like something to that effect, and I was just like, "Hi."
Yeah.
And I remember like I didn't stay long because he was there. I was just kind of like, "Oh, I just came to tell you hi." I feel like that triggered me to kind of just be like, just stay away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I remember like after that, like I went back to my friends, and I'm not saying that that has anything to do with it. I know that my flesh wanted what the flesh wanted, right? But like I remember my friends kind of be like, I'm just gonna go out with them one time, but I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna drink. I'm not gonna do anything. And all it takes is that like the devil just wants that bait, you know, to reel you in. And
Yeah.
I went all in. Like I remember, so like right after that. I really didn't care because like I never cared about it in a sense of like, oh, like about him, like for me it was just like our friendship. I felt like he was a thorn and he needed to go away, you know. So I did feel just kind of like that, just mad and bitter and betrayed. I remember I started partying with my friends.
I'm trying to remember if me and him were like, if it was just like he'd just call me when he was bored, and whoever the little girl he was chasing didn't want, you know what I mean, was messing around with him, and it was just like a
Yeah,
random he was there when you were there type thing.
it might have been just because you guys were outside.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it wasn't like he was chilling in your house, like you were sitting outside, like you know how you always had those chairs outside your door, like
Yeah.
the little benches and stuff, like y'all were right there. I remember feeling like my blood, dude, like I swear. Like, and what stopped me, I think, in that moment is because I wasn't worldly yet. What stopped me, I think, was the fact that I was just like, you gotta forgive, like you gotta, you know, like I was very much reading my Bible when I was in Job Corps, in a sense of keeping it light, of like, oh, it was just, you know, haha, we were young and dumb. But there was so much demonic influence into this. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
this drive was a demonic force,
Yeah.
and it was meant to do exactly what it did. You know, it was meant to break our friendship apart because
He only came around in moments when we were ready to reconnect.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And it sounds like if you don't know the Lord, if you don't know the word, you think it's your own thought.
Yeah.
And the craziest thing about that is in the Bible where it says to put on the helmet of salvation, right? The shield of faith.
Hmm.
And it says like that with the shield of faith, we can what is it called? Quench the fiery darts, right?
Hmm.
But there it also talks about the wiles of the enemy. Do you know what I'm
Hmm.
talking about?
Yes.
So wiles of the enemy, the word wiles means manipulations, like the AI overview, right? Real quick, but it says the wiles of the devil refer to the deceptive strategies and cunning tactics employed by Satan to lead people away from God and towards sin and destruction.
Oh wow.
It says these wiles encompass a range of techniques, including deception, temptation, discouragement, and manipulation. Understanding these wiles is crucial for Christians to resist Satan's influence and stand firm in their faith. I've read this scripture because we always like, oh, put on the whole armor of God, put on the whole armor of God, right? And we think that the wiles of the enemy are just like intrusive thoughts or whatever, right?
Hmm.
And in the last year, one of the things that God has really like just like trained me on, like taught me, was like recognize the war tactics of your enemy. You cannot defeat your enemy if you don't know their strategies, right? Like
Hmm.
even in football, even in like in sports and all that stuff, you have to know, like kind of understand their plays and their tactics so that you can have a good defense,
Right.
right? And so the devil's like, recognize when the devil's using his same strategies. And I feel like the more that he would attack us, and I feel like God allowed him to attack us sometimes to train us, be like, oh look, that's literally the devil. He used that last time on me, or
Hmm.
he used, you know, like, and so that we can be trained up to know how the devil works. And then as I was like learning that through this year, I started to look up like what is the wiles, and I felt this urge like what are the wiles of the devil. So I started looking up like in the Blue Letter Bible and all how it talks about it, and it says the wiles of the enemy are the manipulations, the techniques and his strategies, and how he's able to like convince you like to separate from God or to do things on your own without consulting God. And so, like, whenever you have someone that is struggling with their faith, it is a lot of the manipulations because they're not holding up that shield, you know? So the manipulations are not just bad thoughts. Sometimes they sound like good things that don't align with the will of God. So God says, not just the bad thoughts, take every thought captive and submit it to Jesus Christ. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they could be thoughts that are outside of God's will that are still separate you from God because it's not going to turn out how you want because God didn't want that for you. You know what I
Right.
mean? So just because things are good things doesn't mean that they're God things. So the wiles of the enemy are manipulative tactics that are not always negative. They're not always bad,
Yeah.
you know? And so we have to be really careful with that. But that's what he was using even with Giuliano or whatever his name is. Like I just think that was a tactic,
Yeah.
you know, because it worked the first time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy
And so
because that's so aside from like while that temptation is happening to you over there with, your other the guy that you were talking to, that's kind of like, so you said you got close and to God, like you started reading your Bible, you started wanting to go into ministry. This is when I wanted to go into ministry as well. I was going to college and they didn't have a biblical studies program. They only had a religion program, which is like the basics. You do your Hebrew or Greek, your life of Paul, your New Testament, your Old Testament, very, very simple basics that I was trying to knock out. And so I would flip flop. So I wanted to do religion, but the more like I looked into it, I was like, oh no, I needed to go into music. So then I flipped and I switched my major to music temporarily, but I was like, no, I'm going to finish it because I already got the credits for the other thing for religion. So I will just continue on that. And I flipped it back.
when did you switch to music?
Um, Spring of 2007, right when I was like getting like I did my basics first. I hadn't gotten into like the Bible classes yet. So when I started getting ready to go into the Bible classes, before I did that actually was whenever me and him started dating again. And that, like I said, it was only a month, which was, I didn't know anything about being in a relationship. Literally was the first relationship that I was in. And I had the ring from my cousin, the True Love Waits purity ring. And so it was like automatically like seeing how it came every time that we tried to come back together, how he came in, and like looking back at the only purpose that he even served was to try to get me to do things that I didn't want to do. And that I was not willing to compromise my values for a relationship. And as soon as that happened, it was like
It
gone.
was gone.
Yeah. And so that part, like for me was like, I mean, I expected it. Like I knew usually anytime like a guy saw my ring, it was going to come down to that, like, well, like, what are you going to do with that when you're an adult living in a world that's so, I don't know. It's just like, if you don't do it, then
Dark,
you're just,
immoral, immoral.
yeah. So,
Yeah, purity. I think purity is like a taboo in our world, especially in our environment that we're in. Like the amount of people that were like pregnant and like sleeping together, and like it was just like I see my kids now, and I'm like they don't even like I don't know how we knew at that age what we knew, and that's scary, you know. But it is like it's taboo, like it's bad to be pure, and you like they look at you like you're stupid, like you're crazy, and like it's so crazy because I feel like in a way though, our friendship breaking the way that it did over him, I think that God used that like to strengthen your loyalty to him. Because it's like, look, like you already lost a friend over this. Like, are you willing to give me up? And you were like, oh heck no.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, even then, like, when you get to look back at God's goodness and his hand in things, it's amazing. Cause I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, I would rather, and seeing it now, like, I would rather it be me that you practiced on to be like, well, I don't know what I want, than it be God that you practiced on. And then,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, he took that and turned it for good. Cause like, again, he's like, I know I could fix y'all's friendship, but how do I fix ours? Like him and yours, you know what I mean? If you push him that far away where you want to give your free will up and follow the world, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so like that's, I think a lot more dangerous than losing just a friend, you
Yeah.
know? And so I'm grateful for that, for that part of it, and seeing God's hand in it is it's amazing. Thank God that I did have a praying mom, and I think that that's one of the biggest things. We had praying moms, we had praying grandmas that were not just gonna like take it lying down. Like, I'm pretty sure if we could hear the prayers in their rooms, like we'd be like, and this is why we're here today. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Right.
just it's amazing, and that's why now we're called to be those, like the moms, the Grammys one day, and fight in the spirit. I
Yeah.
remember this guy was like, don't ever measure the strength of a soldier like when it comes to God's army. Like, he's like, don't ever measure it by like how much following he has, what big of a ministry. He's like, the greatest in the kingdom of God are not the ones with the pulpit and a million followers. They're the grandmas that are in the closet. Like that's who the devil's scared of,
Yeah.
you know. And so for me, I'm like, I know that we had that. I know that we had people praying for us in those moments, and so God would intervene in behalf of those prayers where they were standing in the gap and making this righteous wall for us. And so like it ended up interrupting that I was heartbroken, obviously, right? But it ended up interrupting the relationship and all this stuff, and kind of grew. And then that's where it kind of went to where we started talking again too. Because it was like all life was getting messy, you know what I mean? Like it
Mm-hmm.
was just, and I don't know where your safe places are, but you don't recognize it in a godly way at the time,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So that's where we kind of started like talking again. After that, I don't think we had that outlet in each other, spiritual outlet. I don't think we had that communion. It was more worldly. It was again just a friendship in the flesh, a friendship, like I said, based on manipulations of the enemy, where he's like, yeah, y'all could be friends as long as it's not about Jesus, as long as it's about whatever. I do believe that that's kind of our friendship was kind of handed over to Satan, like to do with whatever he wanted to. And it's like there was no more forgiveness. It was just like, let's just get this wall of like, well, you are like this and you act like this and you do this and you don't do this. And we started keeping score, I guess, in a sense of like how much we thought the other person was not a good enough friend. But instead of walking away and being like, you know what, like we're just not we're toxic to each other, we kept on trying to like. And I think it's one, a fear of rejection, and I also believe that it was pride. You know what I mean? After I got married, that I remember you went to pick me up, remember, all the way to somewhere El Paso near. But I
Yeah.
remember you guys went to go pick me up, and well, pick me up, and Michael and Mikey was little. And this is where again I do feel, because I feel like at the time I felt like, oh, like you have your whole life together. You know what I mean? Because like whenever you went for me, this was like right after my surgeries. Like, so I had all these surgeries from after I had Mikey, and it was like a year and a half of surgeries that I was in. And they had already like gotten to the point where I could travel, because like they took out I had a tube coming out and they took it off, and they were able to stent me from the inside. So I was able to move around better and go places. And I remember you were going to come into town, and you guys went to go pick us up. And I think that I don't know where you were at spiritually at this point, but I do think that like you were trying to mature, you know what I mean? Like, and in both of our ways, we were trying to mature.
Mm-mm.
But it was just like, we were just growing up. We thought we were like, we're grown now. Like we could be more mature, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember kind of feeling like little, like I for me, like now at my age now, and the things that I knew that I was going through, like I have grace for that now. At the time it wasn't like that. In the time I felt like, because like now I'm just like, man, like, we got married and we had a newborn, and I was like, I almost died. Like I literally had surgeries where they screwed everything up, and it was a long process to get fixed. And that took a toll. Like if that takes a toll on a marriage that's been solid for 10 years, we were just married, we were both under 22 years. Like I think I was 20 and he was 21, so we were babies, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so like we ended up moving to El Paso when my grandma died. Like she died like the day after we moved back, and it's just like life just was really dark, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of times our suffering is to really get us draw near to God, like to draw near to our creator, because this world is broken, and regardless of where you're at, you're going to suffer. I just rather suffer really close to my father than all by myself in a corner.
Mm-hmm.
And so like he wanted me to draw, and it was those struggles again, because I was again with Pastor Lewis, and he would encourage me and all that. But it was always just like you're in it, you know what I mean? You're in this pit and you just don't see the way out. You don't see the light. You don't see none of that. And so when I saw you and you guys were like coming in from out of town and you have your whole life and you have your house and all these, to me, it was like, oh, your life's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Like your life is just perfect. You have no idea what it's like to suffer. Like I didn't even care to be like, well, how is your marriage? Like how is your life? Like it's, you were young too, and I'm like, you're getting used to this whole other person sharing a whole life with them, a million miles away from your family, and then he's leaving to top it off. Like
Mm-hmm.
like, it wasn't like there was no compassion. Like I all I could see was like my own pit. You know what I mean? And so like whenever we got over there, I remember you were supposed to come over, and like I think that we didn't have, again, that solid foundation of our friendship. Like I don't think that I really understood or cared to understand like what it meant for you to be like married in the military and far away from your parents. And I was just kind of, well, we haven't hung out and blah blah. And like our friend too was just kind of like, no, she said she was gonna come and then she's not coming. Like I didn't think about the fact that you were seeing me for the first time, but you were also seeing your mom for the first time in a while, and you were also seeing your grandma for the first time in a while, and he was getting to see his parents, and it was like 20 minutes with you, 20 minutes with you, 20 minutes with you, like none of that
And then we were
process.
leaving, yeah, and we were also leaving, getting ready to move.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like I
The
didn't.
final goodbyes.
If you want to be like, you want to hear the raw, honest truth, like it was like high school. Like I didn't know what was coming after that. That's how I went into marriage. I didn't know that I was moving from my family. Like I did know that I was moving out of town, right? And I knew like my mom was going to be far away, but it didn't like register
Register.
how much I was going to miss them. And how until that, like all those emotions that week, like they started packing up our stuff, like all of our wedding, like our little gifts that we got from our family, like all the boxes. I had a lot of boxes in my room, because he didn't have, a house. He was in the barracks, and as soon as we got married, he ended up going on deployment 3 days. Flew out 3 days after we got married, and the next day he was off. He was on the boat, and so I literally had four days to talk to him, and he was deployed. And I didn't see him again until April, the month before our wedding, when I flew up there because he had never had a homecoming. So he's like, no one's ever been there for me. I've always seen other guys come home to their families. And so I wasn't going to fly out, but then he's like, he wrote me and he's like, I really want you to be there. Reach out to another one of our friends and she'll help you coordinate how to get up there. And so I worked with someone I had never met before to go out there and be there, coordinate the homecoming so that I could see him come off the boat. And it was beautiful. Like it was the most, oh my gosh, it was so many emotions. And then he checked out from the command in Washington and we moved. And then he was there for a couple weeks for the wedding, which I also signed up for graduation because I was one credit short of biblical study, like graduating for religion. So I switched it to general studies, like literally the day before our wedding, and they approved me to get my diploma to graduate. And so, and the ceremony was the 14th, and then our wedding was the 15th. So then I was like, oh, now you got to go pick up your cap and gown. Oh, now you got to go do this XYZ. And it was like, and all the things for the wedding. And so like it was nonstop. And me and Mauricio were like this is where like some of our first arguments as husband and wife came out. Like it was, and it was a lot of like my cousins, wanting to hang out. My mom, are you going to do this? Are we going to go do this? My brother came into my life around that time, Matthew, and he started talking to me. Well, are you going to come and see the kids? Are you going to come with us? We're going to be over here. And it was just like being pulled 5 million different ways. And like the emotions of, oh my gosh, I'm leaving this town. Like I am leaving, I am moving away. I'm leaving my, my baby sister, and just like all the stuff that was happening. And then me and Mauricio arguing, and it was just like, well, who did I marry? Like, what is happening to me right now? And so I wanted to see you before we left, and that's why we went. I was like, she means so much to me. Like, let's go. Can we go get her? And then Mauricio's like, yeah, let's go for a road trip. So we went, picked y'all up. We came back, and it was just like I said, oh, they're going to be packing up the house. Oh, they're going to be doing this. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to go over there. I know we're going to have time. And then it's like, oh, Mauricio's mom wants us to go over to their house now because they haven't spent time with him either. And it was just like, it was crazy. It was one of the most, and I was talking to my mom about this recently because my brother got married, my mom's husband's son. He got married last weekend, and I know like they were rushing around, and a lot of things got canceled. Their flights got canceled, and it was just crazy. And I was just telling my mom, this is a very stressful time, especially
Mhm.
planning a wedding, not being in the town and then coming in from out of town to have the wedding. I can only imagine how stressful that is, and then not having the help that they expected or that they thought they were going to have. And so
Facts.
it was a lot, but like I was just talking to her about this recently, and that was like one of the most stressful times of our wedding, other than like going through like the deployments that we've gone through, moving, relocating, doing all that stuff, especially with kids. But yeah, it was hard. It was a crazy, crazy, crazy time.
But I don't think we've ever actually sat down and actually discussed like what
What
it
was going
was.
on? Yeah.
Yeah, and then we were young and dumb. Like you were just, oh yeah, I'll go get you. Like, you know what I mean? And for me, I feel like at the time too, like both like the guys, like Mauricio just like, okay, sure. And then Michael like, fine, we'll go. Like, so, like
Yeah.
we didn't have no leadership, y'all. But
We were young and just young and dumb.
and so for me there, I feel like that was another big crack in our friendship. For me, this one's hard. I don't know how to say it other than like just bear it all. But like we kind of went back to that mindset, and I'm not gonna blame anybody else, right? Like I know my part in it. You know how you're saying like, I wouldn't plan something like that. What you know what I mean? But I had my hand in it, um, and it was just like, yeah, like you should tell her that. And it was kind of like my birthday, and
Yeah.
so me and another person, decided that like, well, she like, again, I didn't know your perspective at the time. Like I just knew what I knew, and I was like, well, she went all the way over there to get me, and then she just dropped me off here, and I'm just here with this other people, and so I'm just kind of like, and so I was like, I don't know. She said she's not coming. We got this elaborate scheme of like kind of doing the same thing without thinking about the fact that that was your reality. Your reality was like, crap, like my whole life's about to be turned upside down, and I don't, like, you never know when the next time you're going to see these people, and you don't know if you will see these people ever again, especially that far away. And so we made up this thing. I don't remember like what it was to the T, but that one of us was mad and that had walked off, and that we couldn't find the other person. I don't know if
That you
it was
walked
that I
off with
had.
the baby. With
Oh really?
Mikey. Yeah, and Mauricio, and I told Mauricio like, because we were also fighting for time with each other's parents. So he wanted to be with his mom, and they had invited him over. And that's the crazy thing, because like his parents, like we had to learn this, because even after that, it became a problem every time we came into town, where his mom and my mom would not necessarily fight over the time, but like when we didn't coordinate whose house we were going to spend time with, they would be getting ready at his mom's house, and we would have plans going on with my mom, and they would be left there and have to like a barbecue or something without
Mhm.
us. And it would just like, and then the same thing whenever we'd be at his parents' house, my mom's like, everybody's over here waiting for you. Are you not going to come? Your Theo's been here for a while. Your Thea's been here. And then they would leave thinking, oh, well, she's not good enough to come and see me,
Yeah.
take the time out. And it was just like, it was hard. And so that happened. And I remember, and I told Mauricio, like, my friend, like, I got on the defense. I'm like, my friend just like, left with her baby. It's her baby. Like, if it was her by herself, okay, like, fine, right? She would have been okay. I think she would have gotten the right mind frame to go back with her baby and her
Her
husband,
kid.
right?
Yeah.
And so, but the fact that they said she left with little Mikey, and I was just like, this is our fault. We told them we were going to go, and we didn't go. And so, like, we didn't stick to our word. Like, this is on you. And I told Mauricio, I was like, this is on you. This is on you. Like, I know you want to spend time with your family, but like, I need to go and see where my friend is at. I need to go help her. And so he's like, no, I'll go with you. I'll go with you. So then we went to go and find you. And then we walked in, and then y'all started laughing. And I
Mhm.
was just like, Mauricio just turned back around, saw y'all all,
And
you're
left.
okay. And he's just like, I don't have time for this. And he went and he left, and he got like really mad. And so it was like, yeah, that was a hard one to deal with.
Not only did it crack, because I mean, think about the devil's schemes. It's not just about us not being friends, but now he took our friendship and the things he could manipulate in our friendship and the things that he could hinder in our friendship. And then he used that to crack your marriage in a very like vulnerable time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And with me, like in my marriage, dude, it's crazy because like Michael doesn't even know what the heck is going on because Michael is really shy. So he was very much quiet in the corner. I remember like I felt really bad. I remember you being like livid. I feel like I kind of fought off the shame. Like I kind of was just like, oh, they're so dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like very narcissistic. They're just being dramatic. But I feel like deep inside in my spirit, God was like, the devil's using you to humiliate her. Like that's not what a friend does. You know what I mean? And it's like spirit, like, don't tell me that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that, because it's shameful. You know, it's like you said, like the biggest part is that shame. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think you took off walking. Like you left walking. I don't know if you went and called. Like I don't, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I'm like,
he came and I'm pretty sure he came and picked me up.
because we walked after you for a little bit, but you like took off. Like you took off walking. And like that's what I'm saying. Like for me, that's what I'm saying. Like I think that I'm okay like sharing both sides just because like I don't think that it's just so you were just dumb about a boy. Like it was just both of us in this relationship where we hushed God and God was like, you don't get what I'm trying to do. You don't see what I'm trying to do. Like you don't see my plans.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we were so, and it wasn't just about each other's friends. It was about our relationship with God. Like we liked the darkness in the sense of like, you know what I mean? Like you said, like just kind of chasing that earthly clout and having our mindset on the things of earth. And even in the fact that of your loyalty to me, that was very earthly because now I think knowing God and knowing the things you know now, you would not cause him in this time that he's there after like, you know, everything, like to go and get us, like go drive a 16 hour, because it was a 16-hour trip because you literally got there and turned around and we went back. So like it's about 8 hours away. So it was a 16-hour trip for y'all. That's 16 hours that you could have had with your mom. That's 16 hours that he could have had with his parents. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot of time that you guys gave to us that I didn't really register. Like that's time you'll never get back, you know? And so I think now as a wife, thinking now, like you would not ask that of him, you know? And that was earthly minded. Now again, it's manipulative of the devil, not just because it's a good thing, because it felt good. Oh yeah, you're down friend, you got my back, whatever. That was not a God thing, you know. And in that we invited the enemy, and the enemy is like, oh yeah, like you think that, do you think earthly loyalty means anything, you know?
Yeah.
And it didn't, you know. And I remember feeling like I don't know how to explain it to you, but other than like I felt ashamed within, and I the only way I can put it, like I just wanted him to stop because the conviction was there. It was very much like, are you seeing this? Like are you witnessing what you've done? You know, for what? Like for a little bit of laughs, for to get your way. You know what I mean? So like for my when I got married, it was a really shock because again, I wasn't mushy, I wasn't like about that life, but I did feel convicted to not be in this relationship living together anymore. So I was like, yeah, like I mean, I want to get married with him. Like it's not like I don't. I just felt like again, it will lose the magic once we're official, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm like, you can't get more official than a kid. So, you know, and so like I didn't know how you felt. So I don't know if you want to share that, like how you felt
At the
about that.
wedding?
Yes, like
Yeah. It hurt. It hurt. It hurt. I remember going to the wedding and not knowing what was going on. I remember standing with it, like, because they were waiting at the back and not knowing, like, oh, the guests are sitting down only back there because she's the maid of honor, right? And so, like, I remember being back there and, like, not knowing what to do because I showed up late. And so, because I just got a phone call, like, last minute, because it was last minute,
it
right?
was last minute.
It wasn't like, okay. So, and then like, no, go sit down. And I'm like, oh, okay, where do I go? Like, where do I go sit? So I just went and sat down, and then seeing it start and seeing, like, you know, did you have another cousin that that walked down, or was it just?
Yeah, no, she wasn't in my wedding. Like she wanted her little boy to carry the rings, so she walked her little son up there.
Okay.
It was just I don't know if she stayed up there probably with the baby, but she wasn't like
Yeah.
in it. Like you know what I mean? It was just so
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah. So it looked that way to me. So I was just like, you know, I didn't feel that it hurt, but I also didn't feel that I had a claim because I don't feel that you know what I mean, that I was that close to you anymore. So I was like, I understand like why she would leave me out. Like I understand why. I don't think you did it towards malice or anything. I was like, it's just the way that our friendship is right now. It doesn't make me love her any less, or I don't think she did that intentionally to me. She's got a lot going on. She's starting her whole new life. Like it was like I was happy for you regardless of how I felt about it. So,
Yeah. And I'm like, I feel like weird that we've never talked. I feel like it's so weird talking about certain things like for the first time
yeah.
on thing. I'm like, but it's genuine. It's genuine. Like, because it is like I didn't think about it. Like I really didn't even think about it. It was really just shotgun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say shotgun, but like you know what I'm saying. Like it was just my aunt was like, yeah, like our pastor will marry y'all right now. And I think Michael was just like, let's go before she chickens out. Cause I was very much like, marriage is a piece of paper. But I had been having a lot of conviction, like, cause he would work nights. And so I was up nights a lot. And, God be like at night, like, he'd be like convicting and teaching and. And so I had a lot, and I have my journal too, where I would just write all these things. I started going to a dark place where I was like, what if I'm not good enough? What if my kid doesn't like me? Like, I just felt like, why am I making a
Wow.
whole baby and making a whole life whenever like I'm dumb? Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I haven't, dude, I was reading them in my floor in my closet here a few months ago, just crying, like I can't believe, because I was like, what if they figure out how stupid I am? And it was just so much self-loathing. And I started to
Oh
kind
my
of be
gosh.
like, no. And I started fighting back. And at that time, thank God I had my mom. I'd run to her room sometimes and just like cuddle up with her. And then, and I started to just be like convicted where I was like, you know what? I feel like this because I'm separate from God. Like I feel like this, like because I like, I feel ashamed to be with him because I'm living in sin. I'm living in. And so I talked to Michael and he's like, I want to marry you. Like, don't tell me twice. Like, I want to marry you. Like, let's get married. And so my mom, I was like, I think I want to get married already. And my mom was like, girl, let's go. She took me to the courthouse, was like, get your marriage license. And then you have to wait 3 days.
We didn't.
And
But
so, but because I'm military, but like, I would think like, you're already pregnant. Like, what are you waiting for? But whatever. Like, so they were like, you have 72 hours, whatever. And so we got it. And then the next day, it was 72 hours. So we were the day we were able to get married was Michael was just like, I'm down. Like, I'm ready to marry you whenever. And so she calls and everything. And my mom, like, as they're getting ready for the party and stuff, my mom like drags me to Walmart. She's like, just pick something pretty. And she's like, pick a dress. I'm like, ew, I'm never wearing a dress. And so like we went and she was there. And so I was just like, I mean, you want to stand with me? Like, you could be my maid of honor and this and that. And so she was like, yeah. I don't know if she called you or if I called you.
she did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it was you. I was just thinking about that too. I'm like, I don't even think it was you that called me. I think it was that called me and said, hey, are you coming? Jacqueline's getting married. And I was just like, what?
What?
And I was just like,
Oh,
yeah, where, when? And she's just like, she gave me all the information. And I was like, okay, I'll be there.
but I remember seeing you there and kind of like, it didn't click for me though. I was just like, oh, Destiny came. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like,
Yeah.
oh crap. It was just like, oh, you came. Like, I didn't even think about none of that. I didn't invite anybody. Like, I didn't, you know what I mean? It was just like so fast. Then as time passed that I started to, and I think for me, it was probably registered heavily when Naomi was born. Cause even for your wedding, I didn't feel like, oh, she doesn't want me there. Like, I didn't feel like that. I just kind of felt like you said, like, we're just kind of distant. We're not as close. And then I had a lot of surgery. So I didn't think that you
Yeah.
wanted to like burden me with traveling to a
Yeah.
wedding. You know what I mean? But I think when Naomi was born is when it hit me because I kind of felt like we were like way kind of more distant, you know what I mean? And I was like, why would she care to tell me? Why would she want me to be like her madrina, or why would she want me involved like that when I literally picked someone else and
Yeah.
put it that way, like for everything. And I feel like that's when that like sorrow really started to take root, you know what I mean? And then I think that from there too, like we didn't talk about these things. That's what I think is so like, and that's the huge difference that now, like I feel like now we're able to like, I think we've stepped on each other's toes before recent, and it's more like, look, I don't want to talk about this anymore. We're taking this the wrong way. Like either
Yeah.
let's move on or we can talk later because this is hurtful. And we're able to do that and still remain close. Like we
Yeah.
still remain in the like, and we were not. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I mean, I get it, but I don't get it. And so I didn't talk about it. Like I wanted to, like I wanted to be like, dude, I'm such a crappy friend. Like I can't believe I did that. Like, and I, you know what I mean? And I go, now I'm sorry. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. Like I just think like I didn't know how to put that. Like, what's the point now? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so yeah, like as time kind of kept going, I think in my perspective, I felt like I had it way worse than you. You know what I mean? And I feel like in certain areas, obviously, like with my mom, right? Like certain areas, it was the truth. But in other ways, I'm like, I had my mom. Like she was there with my kids being born. And I'm not sure if your mom was there for all your kids, but like my mom was there. My mom carried them to the nursery. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like through all of that, like we moved away, she went with us. Like I said my final goodbye when she passed, but it wasn't like I abandoned, like not abandoned her, like you abandoned her, but like I abandoned like my youth and then had to go out without her. Like she was everywhere with me, and so like I never felt what you felt,
Yeah.
you know. So I didn't register. Like to me, I just felt like, well, I mean, that's what you wanted. You got married, you went far away, and now your life is perfect, you know. And I even remember telling you this in your grandma's kitchen when we first kind of came together. I feel like that's the first time that we really talked about the big fight with Giuliano. But I remember we talked about it, and we were talking about my mom and like all the stuff with that. And I remember telling you that in my head, I felt like the friends that are better off are the ones that are burdened with the edification of the other friend. So I felt, because I'm not knowing your relationship, I don't know your situation, I just from the outside, and I think you kind of have talked about how your family kind of viewed you with the same perspective of, because you have your house and you have your husband's in the military and your life is just so perfect and you're out in the world and everything's just rainbows and sprinkles or whatever, like you should be the one burdened to check on me, because like I'm suffering and I'm having surgeries and I'm struggling with this and I'm struggling with that, and not, you know what I mean? And so why aren't you being my friend? You know. And then I don't know from your perspective if you felt the same way, or you just kind of felt like I'm drowning, I'm suffering and nobody cares, and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you could share your side of that, but that's from my perspective. So I just kind of felt like it's your burden, you're the better off friend, you should be
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah. So it's definitely, I think social media just kind of creates this illusion that you could just paint your life however you see fit. And
Mm-hmm.
you can exclude all the ugly parts of it. And, you know, I wish my life was as beautiful as it appears on social media. But I am not one person to share the negative aspects of it. I'm not one person to put things negatively on a platform that's going to last, years to come. I don't want to remember the bad. I only want to remember the good. And I always use social media with the mentality that my kids are going to see this one day. And so, and maybe not always, but like, since I've gotten married, since I become a parent, I always look at it that way. And a lot of people view that as fake, as like, you just painting your life into this beautiful picture perfect thing. And it's like, you don't have any struggles. You don't have anything going on in your life. And I am blessed. I do have a lot of blessings that I can only give credit to God for, but like, yeah, I've had people tell me like, you don't know anything about that. Like, I know your worst struggles and that's nothing compared to my struggles. And it's like, that weight is heavy. That like, just people that are that I look up to that have said things like my own brother has told me that, my cousin that I deemed like a sister to me has told me that. And it's like a slap in the face that I don't know suffering, that I don't know heartache. And so I brought a lot of stuff into my marriage. I learned a lot of stuff in my marriage. I, as a military spouse, have seen a lot. Military life is not for the light of heart. It's hard, and I've seen a lot of women, a lot of people in this situation, not have a good handle on themselves, and not like know how to cope when their significant other is overseas and facing deployment. And like every time we move, we reset, and if we know somebody in the town, it's great. Like that's like just the tiniest little bit of relief. But moving away, I had no community and I had to start over, and I had to put myself in an uncomfortable situation being somebody as quiet as I was, because I was quiet. um, Having to make friends, it's like I was just in this entirely new environment, and it just took a lot to feel like I was at home. And then being with somebody that I didn't really know, because when you look back at mine and Mauricio's marriage, we had spent a cumulative amount of 1 month together, physically, like seeing each other, not living together because he didn't live with me, but seeing each other when he came home from leave. So we did not have the time to really even like get to know each other before we fell head over heels and got married. So even though it was we had dated 6 months before we got married. He had 2 weeks of leave when we started dating, 2 weeks of leave when he came back from the first deployment, because he got deployed like 2 weeks after he went back to Washington. He got deployed for 4 months. So then when he came back from that deployment, he got another 2 weeks to come home. So that was the 2 weeks. And then the next time he came home was in December. We got married. So from May to December, like that's the total of our relationship. Then we made this big decision. We got married, moved away, and started building a life together. That deployment, he had things that was happening with him mental health wise that he was going through. And so and there was things that happened when we started going through our wedding, that those tumultuous weeks that I told you about, that where I saw things in him that I didn't see when we first got married. He was very short tempered, and it wasn't even that he was short tempered. I provoked him on multiple occasions because of the insecurities that I carried. It was an eye opening experience. We didn't know each other. And then, like I say, you bring the background of who I came into this marriage, raised by my mom. Like you're not gonna do those types. Instead of asking like, "Are you okay?" My response was on the defense, and adding fuel to the fire, making things bigger than what they needed to be.
I think a lot of it was from just awakening love before its time. And I think that's what the devil wants. Like he wants us to be so confused as to what love is that we tend to get angry when people have it, you know? And
When
so I
other
do,
people when other people have what we have. Yeah.
yeah. Like, and I think it develops a bitterness and a resentment, you know what I mean? And so I feel like a lot of that kind of too played into that day, that day that we, manipulated you and more. I don't want to say played a prank because I feel like that's light, like it's very light of makes light of it, you know what I mean? Like I think like as I grew older and the more I thought about it, because I have thought about it throughout the years, especially like now, like and I don't think that God brings these up accusatory. That's the enemy. That's what he does. But I think God brings up things like, look at this situation and what can we learn from it? What can you learn from it? So I have thought about it throughout the years, especially like because I mean I'm pretty sure, like I don't know how you feel now, but there's times that we're like, oh, we need to talk about, like, especially now with the podcast, and then we go days without talking, and I just feel like, oh, she's probably just carried away, like, oh, like I don't know what to do, like I don't want to reach out, like what if it's bugging, and like what if, like, and you start kind of feeling like I don't know what the other person's thinking, and and God brings those things into remembrance, not as a conviction or like a condemnation either, like it's just like of a lesson, like you can't just assume things about people,
Yeah.
and you have to really like count the cost of what your reactions are going to be, and so I'll take that step back and be like, I'm not going there anymore, like I'm not going to go into the direction of assuming anything. And then also, like, it made me aware too, because I feel like I am a really loyal person, right? But I'm also not emotionally loyal. Like I was not that kind of, and now I am. Like I do believe that now I am. Like now, again, this is something that God gets the glory for. Like I know who I was. I know who He died to deliver me from. Like I know that, so now I do have that like emotional responsibility of like what it means to be a friend, and how God defines that. But I didn't have that emotional like loyalty, I guess, you know what I'm saying, like where even if I felt bad, I was not going to let you know that. Like I didn't have that vulnerability, you know what I mean? And so like I did, even now, like if that starts to come up at all, like where, and God does show those things to me where he's like, you have to be very much careful when someone gives you the power to their heart. It's genuine vulnerability, and it sucks because when someone is not emotionally mature, if someone is not really rooted in God, you have to be prepared that they're going to hurt you. You know what I
Yes.
mean? That's inevitable. Like it's just, and with God, like we have the Holy Spirit who like will shut it down. Like if we're going too far in a direction, he'll shut it down. Like we learn that right now. I think you have to be responsible with people's hearts. And I feel like love is very vulnerable. Like, love is literally an opening for people to manipulate. And in the book of Luke, Jesus tells us like they are going to take advantage of you. They are going to persecute you. Like pray for your enemies, pray for those who spitefully use you. And so people are going to do that. You know what I mean? And so we have to be really careful that we're not that person. Because when we're talking about neighbors, Jesus goes into the whole Samaritan story. And at the end of the story, this is what I tell my kids. What is the point of the Samaritan story? Right? At the end of the story, he's like, which one of these is a good neighbor? And they're like, well, the Samaritan. And he's like, you go and make sure to do likewise. So at the end of the story, it wasn't about who your neighbor is. It's about what kind of neighbor are you? Worry
Yes.
about yourself. Worry about the kind of neighbor you are. And so that I feel like it's what is now the depth of our friendship. And I feel like now it's more awareness of just like, I don't want to be that person that's going to manipulate you or anyone else, right? Like to be manipulative, to be coercive, to be anything like that. That's going, because I'm like, I did learn from that. And I'm not saying that you'd make the same mistake twice, right? But I'm just saying like I did learn from that, from the fact that like when you care about somebody, you're willing to risk it all. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to me, I feel like I think of it now, especially when I see the girls be friends, it scares me. I'm just kind of like, it scares me to think that
Yeah.
him as moms, like, I feel like nothing breaks you more than that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just like, I would hate for them to hurt each other like that, you know? And I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I mean, we can't stop them. You know what I'm saying? Like all we can do is encourage them and teach them and all of that. But it's just like, like there's gonna be points, and not just in their friendship to each other, but their friendship with other people that we're not gonna be a part of.
Yeah.
And it just it makes me more aware of like what in this particular situation when we did that to you, it makes me very much aware of like the lengths you were willing to go, even in the pit that you were, to be a friend. You know what I'm saying? And it's like if there had been an emergency, I know I can count on you, but I also feel like that was wasted because of the fact that like I know that you, and I will say she has come to my rescue since then. So it's not like you're like, I'm not going to rescue her no more.
Right.
But I feel like that before God said, Lazarus, come forth to our friendship, um, maybe that's kind of like where you did get to, where I feel like you are not as like willing to be like, yeah, I'll drop everything to save you. Like, what if it's not even real? You know?
Yeah. It
And
it
so,
did. Yeah. Cause then so as I'm on the other side of the world now, trying to, like I say, build up a community, meet other spouses, make new friends, and you're going through things, and I can't help with the things that you're going through. I am completely and utterly useless, at least I feel, to be able to go and help you, or to be able to, you know what I mean? All the struggles that you were going through at that time, like you losing your mom, having to move, and all these things. I'm like, my hands are tied. I can't do anything to even ease her pain, to even help her out. So like, I think my friends the community that I built was a way to distract myself from like the the despair and the hopelessness that I felt, that I couldn't help you. I, made friends with people that I felt in my spirit I probably shouldn't be hanging out with this person. People that, right off the bat told me things like, th- that they didn't like me, or that they, if it came down to it, they would sue me, and things like that, that I was just like, yeah. And so it was one of my neighbors. And so, just like people that I knew I shouldn't give a chance, but me, being that naive, was just like, no, like, I'm going to go out of my way to try to be this person's friend. And then that friendship grew, and like, we got really close with people, especially in South Carolina. And then just kind of like took like we lowered our not that we lowered our values, we just got really into being liked and um being part of that crowd, that did,
The
the
world.
fun stuff, and being in the world, and being in parties, and just being very, I don't know, very out there. And so when it did come down to it, and people that I thought I had loyalty towards were not loyal towards me. And that's where I prayed to God. I cried out to God in South Carolina. I cried out to God in Connecticut whenever we moved up there, because I had a lot of people that I talked to in Connecticut, but it was like I only talked to people, I think, because I got involved with the commands ombudsman program, and I had to like get out of my comfort zone, talk to people, meet new people. And so it was a very eye-opening experience, but at the same time, it wasn't like deep friendship, and I longed for that. I longed to have those connections where I could have conversations with people about Jesus, about my walk with Christ. And I couldn't find that no matter where we moved to, And it was just I know it came like once I was getting ready to resign as the ombudsman is whenever like I started praying, and I was thinking about you a lot. And I remember um just like praying, God, I don't want a shallow friendship anymore. God, I want a good, like, godly friendship, you know? And I don't want just this surface friendship that I've had, our whole time and not all the time. There are people that we've connected with that we are still like good friends with. We just don't talk to them on this level that me and you have had conversations about God, about marriage, about parenting. I just never talked with other people about that. And
Yeah.
so it was so weird because then you texted me and we hadn't talked for.
I was gonna say, like, I wanted to kind of backtrack on that a little bit.
Oh, go ahead.
'Cause I think that's kind of where we kind of came back together. But so after all of these fights, and I don't know how many are gonna make it to the video, but like after all these little fights that we had, and a lot of just kind of like assigning malice, assigning evil, like listening to the manipulations of Satan, and just being wanting to be in the flesh, wanting to be liked by our environment, all of that. We finally had a huge falling out, where this is where I think our friendship really just died. And and I remember because we had a big fight, and we didn't our friendship didn't end with that fight. But I remember having a huge fight because of the fact, like, I know that you started getting busy with your life over there, and for me, like, after my mom died, like, I did kind of go in a circle of like a nomad. Like, I just was in a wilderness going in circles like the children of Israel. Like, I didn't know where to be. I felt homeless, no matter if I had my own house or I was living with anybody. Like, I felt homeless, I felt lost. And I didn't have really much expectation of you, like, coming like to the funeral, stuff like that. Like, I know we've talked about that like already, like off camera. None of my friends, and the only one that I can say, weirdly enough, and we were friends, but at the time we weren't even talking that much, was Elaine. Weirdly enough, like, she's the only one that reached out and was like, "When's the funeral? Like, I want to go." And I was so in the fog that I didn't even tell her. Like, I was like, "Thank you," but I never actually gave her the information. I was just like, that's a whole other like just story. But none of my friends that I would, like, leave my mom for, that I would go party with, that I would go, hey, like, none of them showed up. And I'm like, it's fine. Like, I was upset to an extent, but I was just like, we were very far. Like, it's not like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like people can just up and go and travel for my sake, in a sense. Right. But it did kind of make me feel aware of, like, these are people that you picked over your mom. And now that she's gone, where are they at? And so I did feel aware of that. But I didn't feel like that, like you were going to travel. If they were not going to travel like 8 hours, I wasn't expecting you to travel halfway across the country. And I remember you messaging me. Like, I still have like the old messages on my old Facebook, like the old one that I had, where like you obviously did message, and you were talking to me and like telling me, like, like, I'm so sorry, like, I'm praying for you, all these things. But again, we were not that close anymore. We were trying to salvage what we had of a friendship. And I feel like, weirdly enough, you want to know, one of the things that triggered me to really like boil up the resentment towards you was the fact that you would still tell me, like, girl, you're like my best friend. Like, I remember you would still say that to me. And I was just so like, how? Like, how are we best friends? Like, how can you even say that? Like, I felt so much like you're lying to me. Like, you know what I mean? And then I was like in and out of, like, one moment I was trusting God and I was like, it's fine, I'm gonna live, I'm gonna survive this. And then the next moment, like, no, like he took my mom. Like, how can he didn't answer my prayers. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just this huge back and forth. And you're in your world, like, away from your family and all this stuff. And I'm pretty sure my mom dying put the fear in you too. Like, oh crap. Like, I moved
Yeah.
a million miles away from my mom, and what if that's it? Like, what if she dies? Like, it can happen. It happened to somebody right next to me. Like, oh my god, like, it hits close to home. So I'm pretty sure that put more pressure on you being far away from her, and far away from your grandma. And because even my grandma had already passed. And so it's just like, I feel like that made it more scary to be so far away from you. And I'm not saying that there's an excuse for our behaviors as far as like our shortcomings in our friendship, but I feel like there's reasons for the things that happen. And so like after that, I remember like we were back living with my in-laws, because like Michael had gotten a job at this at, I think it was a like making trucks and stuff. And they did a physical on him, and he was working there for some time, and he got carpal tunnel on both of his hands. Like, it was like to the point that like the doctor was like, this is the worst I've ever seen. Like, they could zap his whole hand and he would have zero reaction. It was like 100% on one hand and like 97% on the other hand. And so they scheduled him for surgeries, and the job was like, don't worry, like, we got you. Like, it was full benefits. Like, it was, and when he went, they denied his workers' comp and they fired him. And so we went from like, he would work a lot. He would work like Monday through Saturday, every single week, 60 hours a week. Like, and then some. So it was like a minimum of 60 hours a week. So money was coming in, and we had our little apartment, we got our little car, like, we were good, and we lost all of that. And I went back, we ended up back over there, you know what I mean? And I just felt like, what the heck? Like, no matter what you do, like, this material crap doesn't last. And then so for me, like, I felt like, again, we didn't have that communication where like I knew exactly what was going on. I feel like we did talk about our trials to each other, but I don't think we were fully like, because and maybe embarrassment, whatever, like, for whatever reason we didn't feel as safe sharing everything with each other. And so like in my head, I'm like, well, you don't know because your life is perfect, and like you never have to deal with like losing your house. And like it didn't matter that you did have to change your house every 2 years, that you were having to like start over everywhere you went. And it's like, it doesn't matter if you have a house, if you don't have a home and you don't have a community, like, it's still starting over and over and over and over again. But none of that mattered. And then from your perspective, and I can't really talk for you, but like from your perspective, what you were saying to me was just kind of like you didn't know the full story. So you're like, in my head, I just want to be pissed at your husband because why is he not doing what he needs to do? And so we didn't have like that eye to eye, like we didn't have that bond anymore. And so like that, obviously, and I don't know how deep you want to share about that, and I'm cool if you don't want to share that, but we did have a huge blowout fight that day. And I remember like I was outside like yelling on the phone. I remember because like I don't know why, but Michael had friends over that day, and I think I scared them because like I really wouldn't at this point cuss or anything like that, but we were like cussing on the phone. I don't know if you remember, like it was bad. Like it was a horrible, horrible, horrible fight. And I remember at the end of the fight, we both were like, so then what? Like, you just don't want to be friends anymore? And we both decided, even though we knew this is not founded on the rock, even though we knew, like, you know what? I think we should take some time, like, like to live our separate lives for a while, maybe come and talk in 6 months, something. We both were like, no, like, we've been friends forever. Like, we can't just not be friends.
Yeah.
So like, we're not going to just give up. It wasn't like wholeheartedly, no, I love you, I don't want to be away. Like, I don't want to break our friendship up. Like, I want to encourage each other. We need to pray more. Like, it was none of that. It was just like, nah, because we're just used to each other. We're just not going to just end the friendship over stupid stuff. Right. Which I think we needed that time apart at that point, because we were destroying each other, because the enemy was all the way in already. I feel like God literally allowed that friendship over to the enemy. Like, okay, you guys don't want to put me in the center. You don't want me to do what I want to do with you guys and what I'm trying to, like, fine. And after
Yeah.
that explosion, we were supposedly still friends. And I remember like after that, so again, I don't know what part you want to share about that, but like what did do damage like on my direction was whenever you talked about my mom, like about how like I could just use that and win everything and like all that stuff, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Um
You want me to? Okay. Did you want to
I
keep
don't know,
going?
like
Okay. Yeah. I know. So what would happen would be, it was like I want to say it's like kind of like comparison, right? If I had a big fight with my mom and we talked about it, it was like, well, and you were very right in what you said. It was like, well, at least you have a mom to argue with, and then that like would just hit me in a way like I felt so much shame because I'm sitting here talking to you, and then I started to feel like every time we had a conversation, well, I can't talk about that because like I felt really guilty, complaining about my mom or complaining about, my family or my siblings. Because I remember you would say it for a lot of different things. And, you have siblings. I remember that one too. It was like, you have siblings. And I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like, and it was like any of my struggles, it was like, well, at least you have that, you know what I mean? And it's just like, I couldn't talk to you. I felt like I couldn't bear any of my burdens or bear any of my troubles because I felt like it's not going to be anything compared to, you losing your mom or, y'all losing y'all's house or, you know what I mean? Like having to move and stuff. And so I was just like, I can't say anything. So that's, around the time that I just was like, I just want to like live. Like, I don't want to like feel, I don't want to feel this emotion. I'm tired of feeling this emotion all the time. Like, I just want to numb it, and just
mhm.
stop. Like you said, stop. I don't want to hear it, God. Like, I don't want to. And so that's whenever I just jumped headfirst, just partying and just drinking and trying to juggle my marriage with my husband, which was also falling apart.
The enemy, he's a schemer. And I tell my kids like he's good at what he does, not because he's the devil, but because he's been around so long. And so he uses the same things at work. And so at the time, it was a low blow, right? But at the same time, like I also was in a mourning and a grieving phase where like I couldn't, and that's what I'm saying, like I couldn't hear like your mom's, you know what I mean? Because I'm just like I would give anything for her.
Right.
And I was freshly wounded. It wasn't a time to share that, but you also needed, because you didn't have anybody else, you needed someone to be like, to be a friend and be like, yes, I have my grief, but I can. And that's why it's weird that we're even saying this now, because one of the things that God told me, and I did reach out to you when I went to El Paso, I was telling you, you don't have to wait for my storm to be over to tell me about yours. We could just dance in the rain together now, because I feel like that's what we didn't understand back then. Like it was, I was letting my grief be the response to you, instead of being like, okay, like this is my storm that I'm dancing in and I'm hurting, and this is your storm, and then we're gonna kind of like meet in the middle and like, and it's okay to still be going through the things you're going through. Like now I understand that if my mom was still alive, right, there'd be disagreements, there'd be fights, there'll still be like she's frozen in this perfect place because of the fact that she's gone. But that's not the reality. If she was still here, I'm pretty sure there are things that, that I would annoy her about, that she'd annoy me about. Like it's just that, and that it's a beautiful mess, but it's just how life is. But it's still painful when you have to face certain things with your parents. And so it's like, I didn't know that back then. I wouldn't say that I went head first into that, but I tried. What I did was I tried to combine my walk with permissible. I tried to combine, like, well, Jesus drank. The Bible talks about wine and strong drink and like drugs and like weed and stuff like that. Like they're herbal stuff or whatever, like natural things are like wine is
Natural. Yeah.
natural, things are natural, whatever.
Me too.
And so
Yeah.
I try to kind of combine those two to just be that in the middle, like with God. And I feel like he allowed that. Like he allowed that, like literally buried our friendship, because even though we stayed talking for a little bit longer, I don't think that we really regarded each other anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't remember which one it was that you got pregnant with after that you were going to have a baby. Who was it?
Noah.
Oh.
It was
And
Noah.
and I remember you didn't tell me. And I felt like at that point, because I'm like with the other kids, like you were like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. Oh my God, I'm pregnant. You know what I mean? And so like it was just you didn't tell me. And I remember reaching out to you like, oh, like you're pregnant or whatever. And you were just kind of like, oh yeah. But it was very much like, yeah, like I'm living my life. You know what I mean? And so it was just I was like, okay, so like we're not each other's confidants. Obviously, we're not like communicating. We're not that we're Facebook friends now, you know? And it started to really like kind of become real to me because I was just kind of like um I think I do talk kind of like to Odette. I would talk to her about certain things, but until later in life, like she wasn't about God. Like she'd never had replies of like, yeah, well, I mean, you should pray. Like this is what God and we were young and we didn't have a lot of knowledge about God and the Bible, but we had enough to know that Jesus is the answer to everything. We maybe not search that answer all the time, and we wanted to find alternative answers sometimes because we were, you know, but we knew deep down that okay, if you're grieving, if it's painful to lose your parent, like the only one that can comfort you is God. Like nobody can give you. There's no words. There's just nothing that anybody can do for you that'll make you feel better other than what God can do. And so we knew that, but I didn't have that anymore. You know what I mean? And I started to kind of feel, and I remember you had told me that you were going to go to the doctor, and I wanted to be like she needs to know that I care. And I remember writing you and being like, oh my God, let me know how it goes. And I was just trying to be super, what do you call it? Like, I want to say metiche, but like I was trying to be super involved, just like letting you know, like I'm here, I'm super involved, I'm invested. Like now
I
you owe
remember
me, like I'm investing, so now you owe me, like, you know what I mean, like to be involved again.
that. Hmm.
And then you didn't message me back anymore. And
Yeah.
it was like maybe like a week, like 5 days, like because I remember like just sitting there, like should I message her again? And I'm like, maybe it's bugging her at this point. And I remember just kind of feeling like this friendship is dead. Like that's how I felt. And I was like, this friendship is dead. And I felt like we're dragging it on. Like we're dragging it on and it's good. It's already so toxic. Like we've already just wounded each other so much. And I was like, there's nothing to do anymore. That's how I felt. And I remember even like I sent you a message on Messenger and I sent you a text message because I didn't feel like I hated you. I didn't feel angry at you. I just felt like it was dead.
Yeah.
And I remember just like, I remember even telling you, I don't know if you still have the message at all, but I remember telling you, like, if you ever need a kidney, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got you, you know, like I was like, you could, like, if you ever need anything, like dramatic, like not just, I don't like, not just to be friends again, but like, if you ever have like life-saving needs, like call me up, like I'll get tested. Like I still care about you, but this is just dead. Like this is just bad, you know? And I don't remember exactly what you responded. Do you remember what you replied to that? Because I remember like after that, like I had unfriended you, and I remember, yeah, I even unfriended your mom and your sister because I was like, that's just gonna cause me to go searching for you. And I remember you kind of replying. I don't remember everything, but I think you kind of replied like shocked, like I can't believe you would just unfriend me. Like I can't believe you would just like,
Yeah. I didn't know what it was. Like I knew like we were, you know, there was a fork in the road. We were both going on, and I was, like I said, I was distracting myself with all these other things. Like, okay, yeah, I have my friend over here, but like I'm just gonna like these people, I can see these people every day. Like I just come on in, you know, just like they were toxic, they were not the greatest friends, but I just needed to feel like I had someone somewhere, right? And so
mhm.
this was just a way to just like numb all of that. And then when that happened, like I was just like, what did I do? Like I know that I like distanced myself from you, but I was like, did I do something? Like I actually obsessed over it for quite some time, and I felt like I was such a horrible friend. I was just like, man, like, did I get so consumed with myself that I just completely ignored her? And yeah, I think I did.
Yeah, we
And
both did.
so like, did I, you know, did I say something? Did I like what was it? What was the thing that I did to her for her to just not even want to be on like? And I know if it's Facebook, right? Big deal, but like, not even want to, you know, see pictures of my kids, or you know, and like to at least have each other to check in every once in a while, even if we weren't going to be best friends forever. Like You know, that's a pretty big statement whenever you want to remove somebody
From
from
your
your
life.
social media like that. And I was just like, well, you know what? If she's really so mad at me that she would want to remove me from social media, I'll just block her so she doesn't have to ever see my stuff. And I did. I blocked you after that. I was petty again, petty on top of petty. And
Yeah,
so I
because you
just
you
said,
responded on Messenger and then you blocked me, so it didn't let me message you back. And I remember I ended up sending you a text message.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I don't even know, like, if we carried on the conversation or if I just ignored
No.
it and just, like,
And I told you, I no, the message that I had sent you, and I told you on the message, like, I'm not expecting you to write me back. And I told you because I was like, I wasn't, and I even told you like I wasn't mad, I think that I think it's confusing in the sense of like, again, we were not in the same spirit anymore, like at all. Right. So it's like if we were, then even then, like, first of all, I think we'd have ended our friendship, but like you would have felt the same thing. You would have felt that like, no, like our friendship is dead. I get her, like, oh, well, we're moving on, but we weren't anymore. So it
yeah.
was very much like taking things personal, you know what I mean? And I could tell from the message that you sent me back that you took it personal. And I remember like, I was like, no, like that's not what I meant. Cause you were just like, I can't believe you would do that. Like I didn't do anything to you. And like, I couldn't write you back. So I texted you, and that's whenever I was like, it's not about you. Like, it's not about like me. It's about us, like as friends. Like we're not friends anymore. Like we're not good to each other anymore. Like, and for me, it felt because of the fact that we broke each other like that big fight. I feel like that I'm glad it didn't end there though. Even though like I think that it was stupid to keep being friends, right? I feel like we needed a break from each other. Like, you know what? Like let's reconvene in 30 days or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like where we both mutually were like, we need our own outlets for a little bit. Like let's just like we'll set a date. We'll talk on Christmas if God wills, right? But because we were so in the flesh, if it would have ended like that, I feel like it would have been way worse if that day that we just cuss each other out and like I'm done with you and then delete, because that
Mhm.
animosity would have been there forever. But um having that time, you know what I mean? And it was hurtful for me and my part. Like I did feel one, like you thought I was a horrible friend. Like I felt like, because I remember you telling me that you thought that I was faking whenever I was like, I guess, grateful to you. Whenever I would tell you, like, I know that your your life over there, like with Mauricio being in the Navy and all that stuff, it was hard, and it was like that you have your own stuff, and you were just like, I feel like you're just saying that. Like I feel like you're faking that. And I remember that offended me a lot, because I was just like, if you think of me as a bad friend like that, like if you think that that's how I am as a human being, like why would you want to be friends with me? Like I
Yeah.
remember telling you that. And I'm like, but I feel like even then, the resentment that came behind it, I don't think that you were completely off the target. Does that make sense? Like I don't think I didn't mean it. I just feel like there was resentment behind it that I'm like, I know it's hard, but still that's not good enough. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, and maybe that is what you read into, right? Like I don't think that you're a horrible person. Like you low key, like in the back of your mind, have like, you know, like whether there be bitterness, whether it be resentment, whether whatever. It's not necessarily that it's fake. I just feel like it's not really coming from your heart,
Yeah.
that you think that my suffering is real,
Yeah.
you know? When did you find out that you were pregnant with Noah?
That was in 2018. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was him, right? That's when we stopped talking though. Because
Mhm. Yeah, it was right
because
before he was born or right after he was born.
it was right before, because it was whenever you found out you were pregnant, because I remember you were gonna go to the doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, he came, and even how he came was like there was a big falling out with my friends, and that was probably one of the reasons why I went into labor actually. And so I was really stressed out. I was really frustrated. He ended up coming early, and then yeah, it was a nightmare. But
I'm
luckily,
like,
with
every time we stop being friends, you almost die. You didn't stop doing that.
yeah, it was yeah, that one. I had a epidural. It somehow leaked
So
into
like the spinal leak or the
yeah. It acted like the other one where it just completely straight in, and they gave me the full dose of the epidural into my back, so then my body went numb from the neck down, like,
and it's crazy because it
or
happened
the
to me with
chest
the
down because my
like that
arms were
happened to
moving.
me with Elijah, right? But for you, I think that, so with Elijah, it punctured it, but since it hurt me, they took it out and then they punctured higher up. So the medicine didn't go into the spine, like since the spinal fluid was coming out. With
Mhm.
you, since they entered it and then injected, like the medicine probably went into like your spine.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that could kill you.
Yeah, they were ready to put me on like a ventilator. Yeah, to keep me
And as I
breathing
was
because I
saying,
was
like
like, shoom.
He's so merciful, and I'm glad that he got you through. It just shows his goodness. It's crazy how each time, like right before, you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
crazy. But because our fight happened in 2015, 16.
Mhm.
That's when the big fight happened. We didn't stop being friends until you said 2018. I remember that was when it happened, that I was like, okay, this is it. And you got to live your life. I got to live my life. And I do believe that, because after that, I felt really homeless after my mom passed away. Like, no matter where I lived, I never felt home. I always felt homesick. I had to learn how, like, even family, like, just because your blood doesn't really mean a lot. I mean, we kept on seeking that validation. I was going for family, and I was going where I could find it to fill those voids. You were going with friends, and but ultimately God's plan, I feel, was like, look at me. Like, I'm the only person that will never leave you. Like I'm the one you can trust. I'm the one that you can put your faith in, not man. Do not put your trust in princesses, or whatever, like princess. It's God, it's Jesus. Like, that's our only true friend. And when we are in him, we can be that kind of friend to each other. And
Mhm.
outside of that, we can't. And so I remember, like, after that, it was years. Like, I don't know, when was it that I actually texted you, did you say? We already had
So 2023. It's been 2 years. It's
month.
coming on 3 years. Yeah.
And so in July, again, like, and I had, up until this point, like, I had dreams about you. I remember one of them, I think, was like in a roof of a place, and I remember like the wind just kind of being like blowing, and every time I would dream you, it was so like normal. It was just very comforting. And I remember that at first I was just kind of like, no, like probably my brain just misses our friendship. Like, it's nothing. And then I had a very specific dream where it was so real, and I saw your little kids, and my kids were there, and we were this bowling alley, and you were offering to buy me food, and I was just like, and it felt so real that it literally, like, that's the dream that made me like yearn for your friendship, like actually be like, oh crap, like, no, like, you know what I mean, like, now I got. And the thing is that, like, God has his plans, because I'm like, in your end, I remember I started a 40-day fast from social media. Like, I cut off all social media, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh wait, this is how many days, and this is how many days. So I'm tracking the days, right? But my fast from social media and all of that I was just trying to dive into God, and I was trying to get into prayer and like really like seek his face. And this is where he starts like transforming, and like all of these, like I had already like been walking with him more. Like, I had already like just surrendered my life to him at this point. Um and I remember looking at it as I'm tracking the days, and I started the fast on your birthday. And I didn't do that intentionally. Like, I didn't even think about it when I started it. And at the end of it, I was already like kind of like at the third week, I want to say, into it. I was like, because I wasn't talking to nobody on Messenger, I wasn't talking to nobody on social media. And I was just kind of like, I wonder if that's still her phone number. And I remember like praying about it. And I was like, well, God, like, you know what you're going to do. And I remember messaging you, and I was like, it's cool if you don't want to message me back. And like, I don't even know. Like, we should take a screenshots of all that. Like,
I should
but I'm
have.
like,
I
it's,
think I should have it in my phone somewhere of the message. Yeah, I can't. I could probably try to scroll, but I'll have to find it.
imagine 3 years ago. Yeah, like, I already have like the third phone since then. But like, I remember messaging you, and just kind of like, I think you had just had COVID, no?
Yeah, actually, yes, I did. I had COVID. My husband was on the boat, and so he was in and out. Like, it was a lot. It was we had such a hard schedule, and he was getting ready to come back. They were going to be bringing the boat in, so he wasn't going to be getting like deployed anymore. Yeah, no, I can't. We talk too much. I tried scrolling back.
we
Um,
need we need that little search bar.
but yeah, he was coming back in, and just like I want to say around July, August time frame, I started getting like woken up in the middle of the night, having very, very bad, like feeling like I couldn't breathe, like just like anxious, very, and I don't know that it was COVID related or if it was something more. I want to believe it was more something more
It's
spiritual
crazy
happening.
that I'm like fasting from stuff at this point, dude. Like, I'm in prayer about that in this time. Like, that is like,
Yeah.
to me is just crazy.
So I started reading the only thing that I could get, and I started hearing things like pots falling in my house at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
No way.
I
Dude,
started hearing, yeah.
dude, the devil is alive. Dude, today. I'm like, I was already like, I don't know if she wants to record this today, what we're gonna do, right? I was like, let me just make food real quick and then I'll go do this, right? I grabbed the tortillas and like the oil we have, I use the avocado oil in the glass jar. Like it's like so my tortillas are right here, the oil's like over here. And I grabbed the tortillas and the oil is heavy, dude. It's heavy. It like just slammed down.
Oh
And
my
it
gosh.
scared the crap out of me. And I was just like that, and Michael was just kind of like what was that? And like, he thought I had knocked it down. Like I didn't touch it. Like I grabbed the tortillas. Like I didn't. It's not even close to me. It slammed down on its own.
Wow.
That's so crazy. Like that's
Yeah. Yeah. So I would, yeah. And it would mess
I was
with
like,
me
get out
because
of here, devil.
it
In
wouldn't
Jesus' name.
happen until he would leave. Like, and one time I remember Naomi, everybody else was asleep. It was just me and Naomi awake. And Naomi went down with me downstairs because she's like, I heard it too. Like, what was that? And I'm like, I had to get my stepdad on the phone. I'm like, I just need somebody on the phone. Like, I remember one time I thought I heard somebody like banging on the back door. So we have two doors, one in the front,
Wow.
one in the back. It was like their townhomes up in Navy housing up in Connecticut. And so I'm telling you, like, and he walked around the house, didn't see anything. I remember it was just so crazy, like what was going on. It felt evil, it felt scary, but the only thing that could calm me would be to sit up until the sun started coming back up and just reading the word or listening to
That's
the
so
word on the
crazy.
Bible, on the Bible app.
Dude, it's so crazy. Like the enemy, again, recognizing the enemy schemes, because I'm like, now and what God is doing and what God is like, the prayers that we've prayed and how God has answered, like, ooh, like those are going to be some good videos in the future. Like those are going to be some testimonies. You know what I'm saying? Because like,
Yeah.
I know that he was desperate. Like the devil, I'm like, if the devil, and I literally was like about to start singing the oh, like the ghost movie song, because I was like, you desperate if you're trying to scare me in my own house. Like, because
Yeah.
now it's like, come on now. You know what I mean? Like now we know the enemy and his little schemes, you know? So, but it's like for him to go old school and do the "Ooh, I'm gonna
Yeah.
get you," and it's like like there was, you know what I mean? Like I just feel like he knew what was coming. Like he could see
Mhm.
God moving. Like, why are you moving on her? Like, why are you moving on her? What
Yeah,
you about
because
to do?
when you texted me, I was it wasn't just you that was trying to reconnect in my life. It was, and this is, I don't know how much of this I'm gonna edit, but I'm just gonna say it. So it wasn't just you. I hadn't heard from my brother. I hadn't heard from him in years either. And so he had reached out to me, I want to say within the same week, if not within the same day that you reached out to me. And I had also heard the audible like head voice in my head as I was drifting off to sleep one of those days. And I was reading the Bible in the middle of the night. I was getting woken up like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning with anxiety and just like this weird presence. And then I remember hearing, like doing that again, drifting off to sleep and hearing repair is through Christ. And I was just like, repair is
You
through
said
Christ. Okay.
what?
Repair is through Christ.
Repair is through Christ.
Yes. Repair is through Christ. And just like, okay, what is that? Like, what is that even? Like, okay. And so then within that week, it was you. And then my brother texted me. And I was just like, okay.
You're like, one of these is angry, one of us getting repaired.
I'm like, what's going on here? And I was like, very like, I don't know. Like, I don't know that I did want to talk to you. I did have dreams about, I know I had a dream about your mom and I wanted to reach out to you, but I was like, she wants nothing to do with me. I was like, and I remember like being told something to like share to you, but then like I was like, she deleted me. She wants nothing to do with me. I have no way to contact her. I don't know. Like, and I think I went in and I unblocked you maybe on social media. And then yeah, I was just like, after that I was like, I talked myself out of it. I'm like, I'm not going to go and like open up her scars, you know what I mean? I'm not going to go
Yeah.
and So I just kind of left it there. And then I remember the same thing. Like I had a falling out with a friend in Connecticut. And it wasn't really a friend, it was someone that I kind of entertained the time with because of the loneliness, which I probably shouldn't have. There was things I had to overlook, things that was told to me, things that, I should have had to put up with, that I felt obligated to do it. And so like I had just come off of that friendship and I was like, man, like God, I just want a friendship like the one that Jacqueline and I had, someone that I can talk to about God, someone that I could, like I hadn't yet found a friendship like that, as pure as that. Someone that would pray with me, someone that would, talk. And not that we even did that a lot, but I knew that, like,
That was the only taste we had.
yeah, if I could just call you, I know that like you would, give me godly advice and not just tell me, the things that I wanted to hear. I was just like, man, like I always compared every friendship to that. And so I didn't want just a shallow, like, hey, how are you doing? Like I didn't have a lot of those friendships that I could just talk to people and get like good sound advice from. And so this was like one of those moments that like I cried out to God and I was just like, God, like, please, I need somebody. And so that happened. And then I didn't know how to walk, how to tread the waters. I was just like, how to even initiate that. And I remember Mauricio was leaving on an underway because it was between underways, because he would go out for a week, come in for a week, come out for 2 weeks and go back in for, it was like very, very sporadic. And so I remember telling him and like not even having the chance to really tell him, like, what should I say? What should I do? What should I, like, you know what I mean? I don't know what to do with this. And so he was gone and it was just, that was that. And I was just like, okay, well, I guess I'll figure it out. Like, you know what I mean? And so I
Mhm.
sat and I didn't want to answer in bitterness. I didn't want to answer in anger, but I also wasn't really where I wanted to be in Christ. I was just, I think I just started going back to church because when COVID hit, first of all, we moved to a new state and things were just crazy for a whole year
Mhm.
between then. So I didn't go to church that whole time. I watched church online. I did not read my Bible. It was collecting dust on the shelf, and it was just, I wasn't at all where I needed to be. I wasn't at all where I was in my walk before as a young, Christian either. I didn't want to answer in bitterness, and I really wanted to pray about what I was going to say. And so since I had started, reading and like, getting into the word around this time, I did sit down and I started that letter, that response to you, like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how many times, how many different notes that I would start typing up. And I'm like, nope, nope, that's getting to anger. That's getting to this. That's getting to, I'm going to tell her what I think. You know what I mean? Like, and then I'm
Yeah,
like, no, that's not what I want. That's not what I want to go with this. I'm not trying to do any of that. And then I don't even remember what the response that I said to you was,
I do.
but what did I say?
You're like, what did I say? So like your response, it wasn't mad or anything. I honestly sensed fear in you whenever you responded to me. I think you were scared of like having the same friendship again. Like I think you wanted the friendship, but you were scared to have the same friendship again. And you pretty much were like, I don't know where this is gonna go in a sense. Like I don't know that we can be friends. You were like, I would like to think that we can be friends again like that, like it can be, but at the same time I don't want that, and you were like, I don't know what your expectations for friendship are, like I don't know how to meet everyone's expectations, so if you have a standard, I might not be like pretty much like up to part of that, so like you like I need to know what you expect from
Mm-hmm.
a friend so that I'm so that you know what I mean, and it was you know what I'm saying? And it was just like, and I read it and I did, like I said, I feel like this is when the spirit was more like, okay, this is where she's at. Like she's scared. Like she wants to kind of, I felt like you had this little wall of like, you're looking over the wall, like, maybe we'll be friends, but I don't know, and it felt very, where I was at this point spiritually, like everything God had brought me through at to this point, like he was solidifying my walk at this point, right? And I did feel like he was just kind of like, she's like your baby sister right now, like you need to understand that it's from a place like she's scared, like she doesn't know if she can trust you, she doesn't know where we're coming from, and it's okay. And so like I was just kind of like, I don't have an expectation of you. I was like, I know that at the end of the day, like our life is to glorify God. And as long as we're doing that, like, he's going to tell us exactly what we need to do and be for each other. Like, you know, and I remember, like, I don't remember everything I responded to you, but I do remember just kind of telling you that, like, there's no standard, there's no pressure. Like, I'm not, like, you don't have to be anything. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's where we kind of started relaxing a little bit. And then one thing I will add to this, so, and this needs to be on the video, right? Like, we did have a sit down. We didn't just come into this new friendship and like, okay, well, let bygones be bygones. Like, we sat down and we were like, we need to talk. And I was like, not over text messages, because we could take each other's tones, because again, this is more like like God had already taken me out of so much, and it was like,
Yeah.
I know myself, I know my triggers, I know the things that like that God's working on in me, and I don't want any of that to have any influence. And I was like, I want us to hear each other's tones, to like be able to like talk about it. And we did. Like, we had like a 4 or 5 hour conversation that day. Like, and it was, I don't think it was even that same day. I think it was like maybe a couple days later. But we talked on the phone about like as much as we could. There's stuff that is coming up now that I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we didn't like tell each other the perspective. But we did sit down and have to like really bear it, and be like, I'm sorry. And you know what I mean? Like, and I do forgive you. And then those people are dead and gone. Like, we are not those people anymore. You know what I mean? Like, God has really renewed and restored us in our walk first. And that's what he's trying. And I remember you were telling me like, this is crazy. Cause I'm like, God, that's God. What, like, God just woke me up, and God's just, pouring so much information, so much wisdom. Like, he was just kind of like having what do you call it? Like a refresher course for you of just like,
Mm-hmm.
quickly, come on, get up, girl, wake up.
Yeah.
And so like that was the timing. So we did have that sit down, I think, and it's important. Like, Jesus had to sit down with Peter, like, you know what I mean? And it was just like that restorative, like, not necessarily restoring the same friendship, because I do believe that it was a whole new um like bond. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have our history and but it literally, like, I feel like our friendship is very much a token of the redemptive power of Jesus Christ, where the old man has passed away and behold, like, this is a whole new world. Right. And so like our friendship is not like, we have our memories, like we still talk about like
Mm-hmm.
little things, like I remember when we we're little, we're stupid, but like that's not who we are anymore. So like those people that we were that hurt each other, they don't play a part in our friendship now
Mm-hmm.
at all. And
Yeah.
that's just because, again, like, it's so, to me, I feel like it's so beautiful. That's the whole testimony of this thing. Like, you're hearing, like, we can laugh about it sometimes, right? But like now, but you're hearing the nitty gritty, like the ugly and the, you know what I mean? And the things we put each other through, because we were like in our selfish desires of this flesh and the desires of the world. And we wanted friendships that we didn't have to be loyal to, but we expected loyalty. And then like, thought that loyalty was an investment. We thought that love was an investment. And then now we've learned that love is a sacrifice, and Jesus was able to literally allow that old man to die and then call out this new man, you know what I mean? And I think that's the whole gospel. Like, the whole gospel reflected in our friendship is that we can put to death our old members. We can die to who we used to be so that we can be born again. And I feel like that's what our friendship is. It's this token of this new birth, right? Like, our friendship was literally born again.
It
But
really was. Yeah. It
and
was
yeah,
resurrected from the dead.
yeah, Lazarus.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm like, it's so crazy because I feel like after we started talking, like, I feel like since then, and like I said, we've stepped on each other's toes. I do believe that there's been times that like we don't want to hear it, and especially a lot of times the other person is right, but we don't want to hear it. But now it's more of just kind of like, okay, like, we're not going to be a snare to each other. Like, if this is
Yeah.
offending you, like, we can cut it short there, and then that's it, and we'll talk again. It's not, there's really nothing that can kill it, because our loyalty is not necessarily to each other. Our loyalty is to Jesus, and
Mm-hmm.
he's faithful in our friendship. So a lot of times, a lot of our misunderstandings now are so easily fixed by the Holy Spirit, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's so weird. Like, now if I feel a certain way about like a message that you send me, like, the Holy Spirit will correct. Like, I don't even have to text you, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then we talk again. It's like, oh, it's because this was happening. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know. And that's the power of God in the midst. If that's how much power I think that he has in a friendship, imagine like in your personal life. Imagine when you surrender fully to him. Like, seek first the kingdom of God, and all his righteousness, and then watch everything fall into place. I feel like our friendship is a big representation of how faithful God is to his word, that when we put him first, everything in our friendship starts to fall into place, because then it goes beyond a friendship, it goes into like sisterhood. We're part of the same family, like the same blood that runs through your spiritual veins runs through my spiritual veins. Like we share Donna, and
Done.
Donna. But it is, and I think it's amazing that we get to share it. I feel like, even though I feel like we don't have anything against each other, I don't have nothing against you and you don't have nothing against me, and I can say that like with full confidence. I feel like I still feel like the nervous. I don't know if you feel it, but I could feel the stress in my body right now, reliving these things. Like I
Mhm.
feel the nerves in my stomach, and I'm just like, oh my God, like I can't believe how much we believe the enemy. Like I can't believe, and it makes you wonder, like what relationships are we living now that the enemy is twisting up, that we don't even see, that God
Yeah.
is trying to build this beautiful, like, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
pillar, and we keep tearing it down because of our mental flesh and expectations, and not allowing God to be the one that rules and the one that works in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But it's beautiful. Like everything that I ever wanted in, like, that I prayed for, and I even have prayers from my teen Bible. Maybe I'll get them out and I'll put some pictures up. Me praying for our friendship. And so, like, it's just so crazy, like, cuz I think during one of those prayers that I wrote, we had stopped talking. And then I prayed, like, God, like, bring this friendship back to me. And I think you ended up coming back. We ended up being friends again, and we started talking again, and then, like, I put in there, oh, God answered my prayer. And then I remember seeing that, like, when we weren't talking, and showing Naomi, because I gave that Bible to Naomi to use,
Mm,
and going in there and reading it and just being like, man, like, God didn't, like, answer my prayer. And then, like, fast forward to now, and it's like, no, God did. God
mm,
did. He restored that prayer. He restored that friendship beyond anything that I could have imagined for myself in a friend. The
mhm.
things that I didn't even know that I like when you're developing, you don't even see the things in a friendship that you need, like prayer.
Yeah.
The things that I didn't even want for myself, or I didn't even know that I needed for myself. Like, it's not just somebody to vent to, it's somebody to
Yeah.
pray, like, to
To
go to
battle with.
battle with you.
Mm,
And so, like, that is, like, one of the best things that I wish that I could just, like, share with everybody, is that, like, don't close yourself off, you know? There are people out there. There is, godly friendship. And I think it, oddly enough, that the pastor talked about
ours
David
too.
and Jonathan, both
The
of our
same Sunday.
pastors.
We don't live nowhere next to each other.
Same Sunday, and yeah, it was just, oh my gosh, just the fact that it's such a beautiful thing. And I just listened to that whole thing, and I'm like, yes, that is what a godly friendship is. Somebody that you can talk to, somebody that will pray for you, go to battle with you, not just sit there and tell you, oh, you're right, you're right all the time. Someone
Hmm.
that will actually give you sound godly advice and hold you accountable and say, like, this is what the word says, this is what and not even that, but just like the spiritual confirmation. That's what I think is the
Yeah.
craziest thing. Um, because, like, you have things going on in your life that very eerily mimic and mirror the things that are going on in my life and the battles that I'm facing. And it's just, when we're, like, in our bubble, like, oh, I can't take this to anybody. I don't want to take this to her. And then it's like, when we finally do connect, it's like, oh, well, I'm going through this. Oh, you're going
Me
through this. I'm
too.
going through this too right now. And it's like, this can't be a coincidence. And
Yeah.
so,
It's
I'm
crazy. It's so crazy. I'm just tripping out.
the Holy Spirit. Like, I think that's one of the beautiful things that this
Yes.
friendship has revealed to me, the power of the Holy Spirit.
Hmm.
Thousands of miles away from each other, just how potent, just how
Powerful.
amazing, just how powerful God is, to put things, in time things to just, it's crazy. And you're going to see more of that in the next, couple of episodes. We're going to talk about, what we've been saying. We're going to talk about teshuva, but we haven't really said it.
Teshuva.
Um,
Yeah.
and just, you know, these little connections that, yes, we're friends. Yes, we're sisters in Christ, but more important, we're part of the same body of Christ.
It's a beautiful representation of Jesus's command. He said, I wish that, like, when he's praying for the people in the book of John, and he's praying for the believers that'll come and all of that, he's like, his prayer is that we'd be one the way that he's one with the Father. And that's, I feel like that's that oneness that you're talking about. Like, it's miraculous. Like, the only word that I can use is miraculous, because like when I'm saying, like, I could have like the crappiest day, and then to wake up to a text message from you that's like, hey, the Lord said da, 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 and I'm just like, and
That's
it
like
could be
perfect
so
timing.
specific. Yes. And so I'm just like, the obedience in that, the love for each other, to have that obedience, that if I feel like, you know, she's going through something, or like she needs a message or whatever, the obedience of comes from love, right? Like Jesus said, if you love me, you'll obey my commandments. So like that love for him, that love for each other is like, doesn't matter what I have to do, it doesn't matter what's coming. Like if God is like, hey, your sister needs a word of encouragement, drop what you're doing and text, even if it's just a text, or like, hey, can you talk, or whatever. And it's always like, oh, I was just going through this, or I just needed that, or it's always so, God's timing is so perfect, and we get to experience that. And the craziest thing is that this should not be an isolated event. Like our friendship and what God has done with it, it literally is just one of what God is trying to do in his church. That's what he wants in his church. He wants us to be so in tune with each other that nobody lacks, you know, that nobody, like, I feel like a lot of times we think that like taking each other's burdens is just like a financial responsibility. I think because of the fact that there's so much struggle, and like, you know, like financially struggles, that we think that that's the main, you know what I mean? But I'm not going to say that it's not part of it. Cause like I said, when we were struggling with the car and they took it away, and then they didn't want to give it back. And then when they gave it back, like like all of that, like she did come to my rescue. Like no questions asked. Like it was just like, I didn't even know how to use Apple Pay. That's how fast it was. I was like, I don't even have Apple Pay. And she had to teach me to use it because I know how to use it. And so like that, to me, I feel like that's what God wants in his church. Like not just the building churches, but like in his body, like for us as brothers and sisters to care enough about each other, to really like think about each other's benefits above our own, to love thy neighbor as thyself. And that only happened with us when we learned to love God. Once we learned to love him and allowed him to love us, you know what I mean? Like, and we started to hear and be obedient to his voice, then we're able to really know who we are in Christ. Then we're able to really like love the way that we love ourselves. And before, we were loving each other how we loved ourselves, because we were in love with ourselves. We were selfish and we wanted everything about me, 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 me. And are you going to be loyal to me? And are you going to show it? Are you going to prove yourself to me? You know what I mean? And that's the earthly way of loving your neighbor as yourself, right? Like, well, I'm loyal to who's loyal to me, like blood is thicker than water, like all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like all these earthly philosophies. And ultimately, to love your neighbor as to love yourself is like, Jesus is humble. So we have to be humble, right?
Yeah.
And so we have to be able to really show each other like the type of love that God has, which is like kind and patient, long, like, you know what I mean? Like goodwill and generous, and with self-control, and like with kindness and gentleness. And so all
Yeah.
the things, you know, that God explains his love to be. And I feel like that we're learning that now. And again, like it's not perfect, and we have stepped on each other's toes and stuff, but like it is made perfect in Christ, because he doesn't allow us to fall away. Like it doesn't, like it just doesn't happen. I don't know. Like, and I'm like, I can't take the credit. Like I'm pretty sure like in those moments, like there's moments like when we did like that day, remember about the sugar and stuff like that. Like we had like a little like headbutt, and it was just like, you know what, like I feel like I'm offending you right now, and that's not the point, like, you know what I mean? And it was just like, no, 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 like I do want your advice. And we were able to just like, and I felt the animosity. I know you felt like like, oh no, the tension.
Yeah.
But then it was like the Bible says like leave room for each other's faults, you know, and
Yeah.
love covers a multitude of sin. And so like our friendship is above the emotion, and I feel like that's so important. And I'm like, it's crazy because I feel like it's training us up too into how to deal with our marriages.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. I use a lot of like I know we've said the iron sharpens iron, and then we're like, oh wait, that's not what it means. But like I know like getting the inspiration from you and how like you take, you know, how you use your word, you know, how you use that to talk with your husband, how you use your routine, how you use your, you know, how you have Bible study with your kids, all that has just like impacted me in ways and shown me different things to do, different things to try, and different, you know what I mean? And it's just like been life changing for me and my family too, not just for our friendship, but it's just really like helped me to bring that into my family as well. Because, like I said, we were out of church for a minute. You know, my kids didn't go to church in those early years, and I didn't sit there and read the Bible with them. I wasn't. And now it's like we're doing that. And sometimes it's not always great. It's not like always the easiest, but like I never had that. I never
Me
had that
neither.
as growing up. And now seeing it and seeing you and seeing how the word takes root in your children, you know, it's just it's beautiful. And I love this, that we're, you know, old friends in a new friendship. I
Yeah.
really do.
I think that it's so cool to be able to see, because I feel like not only is our friendship the testimony, but being able to see who we were and then be able to see the transformative power, like as an individual in Jesus, like that's huge. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and we're able now to be able, like you said, now we know iron sharpening iron is really painful. Like it's not supposed to feel good. But so like, and we've had to come down to that. Like I feel like even our little book that we never finished, but like we started reading a book about loving our daughters, and I feel like that impacted a lot of my relationship with Elijah. And it has changed the way, and that impacted in a very pivotal moment in her life. It shifted a lot of my walk with my daughter. Like it literally, it was such a pivotal moment, because I'm like, if we hadn't done that, I don't know how far I would have pushed her. You know what I mean? And in us, we would read it, but we spend most of the time in like diving into like not just the book itself, but what scriptures did it use, and then what is God is saying about this. And so that it just prompted us to really dig our heels into how we were raising our girls. And that shifted. And I feel like that shifted at a very perfect time, like for her. Because I remember as we were reading this, like God convicted me, and he was like, because I would bring her to God in prayer and all this stuff. And God literally was like, in my spirit, was like, you have to recognize the difference between when to bring her to me and when to love her for me. And that was a huge like change in direction. And it's impacted like way more like than I thought. Like I was just like, it's because you need to read it, you need to do this, you need to do this. No, like it shifted, like where God was like, if the commands aren't working, like, you know what I mean? Like you need to be present. You need to. And I remember we started like really digging into our little Bible study that we do by ourselves, and like making it a morning and a coffee and like all these things. And she just got so excited, and it's shifted her so much. And I'm like, so those are things that like, I think for you, that I'm like, I'm grateful that I'm like, I don't think a lot of times I feel like because I get so caught up in the word that I feel like maybe I don't come off as teachable. You know what I mean? Like maybe it doesn't seem like you're teaching me, but like I do learn a lot from you. Like, and I do apply that, what I am learning, and it makes a huge difference. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm like, I don't know if this is for the camera, but just for you, like that you need to feel like this is not just a one-way friendship, like in the sense of like growth. You know what I mean? Like it's helped me grow a lot, you know. And in even taking those moments, like, because the fact that you, like, I can have a conversation with you about God. There's times when like you do get discouraged because you don't have that with anybody to bounce off ideas and like, you know, all that, and you kind of start to get discouraged. But because we have that, if I start to kind of like, like, you know, like go through the motions, or life is hitting hard, and you're like all excited, like, oh my God, guess what I just read? You know, like that will just kind of like, oh, I need to go read, like I missed an episode, like, you know. And it keeps us just motivated and like, you know what I mean, encouraged to
Yeah.
continue like in the word and all of that. So it is a two-way street, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. It's been good.
That's the story.
And here we are.
5 hours later. I'm like, I don't know how long this will be, like a 3-part episode. I don't know, dude. Like,
Right? Yeah. It's going to be fun to edit, but I got like 2 weeks, so that's not too bad. Do you want to pray?
yes.
Oh, wait, it's my turn to
Oh,
pray.
your turn to pray. Okay, so we're gonna cut this one out right here, you guys, because we done told you our whole life story. But hopefully this can encourage you guys. We're gonna end it here, and then Destiny's gonna pray for us. And we do miss you, Elaine. So when you're watching this, you know, I'm glad that God is literally like taking this friendship, and then, you know, no spoilers, but like like creating this same ambiance, this same spiritual connection with these girls. Because like Elaine coming back in my life has been awesome too. Like she's another prayer warrior, another relationship that I can really like, if crap is like going, like I know that these are people that I'm just like, yo, pray, and they'll be like, oh, let me drop what I'm doing. Like, God, I don't know what's going on with my sister, but we fighting. Like we literally like spiritually like, like who's messing with you, girl? Like, you know what I mean? I'll put my hair up, like we fight, like, and that's so cool. Like I love the fact that like God is expanding it, and that's the whole point to this too, to encourage other people. You know what I mean? Like, like cultivate those friendships, pray for each other, really get into the word with each other. There's nothing more intimate than praying for each other and praying together like we're about to do right now. So that's
All
that.
right. All righty. Heavenly Father, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your gift of Jesus, Lord. Thank you for your gift of friendship. Thank you that we are friends, that you make a way for us to be friends with you. And not only that, but that you allow us to be friends and have fellowship with one another. Lord, thank you for restoration. Thank you for raising dead things to life, Lord. Thank you for second chances. Thank you for just fellowship, Lord. And I ask that you help the people that are watching this, Lord, to just be able to repair and restore those relationships in you, Lord, and to so that they could go and they could, restore the relationships that you need them to restore, Lord. I just pray that your Holy Spirit just comes down heavy, Lord, and that you're able to guide those people in truth on and discernment on which relationships need to be restored and which relationships, need to be covered in the blood of Jesus, Lord. I just ask that you continue to use Abba's Girl as a tool for you, Lord, and for your kingdom. That whoever's hearing this knows that there is salvation, that there is restoration in you, Lord, and that repair is indeed through Jesus Christ. Lord, I just ask that you go with us, Lord, protect us, protect my friends, Elaine and Jacqueline, protect the people watching this video, Lord, and just guide them towards restoration. In Jesus' beautiful name we pray this, and we give you thanks for it all. Amen.
Amen and amen. And cut.